price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe. If you guys have already subscribed, please make sure you leave a like. If you guys have not subscribed, or if you guys have subscribed, please make sure you leave a like anyway and share this video on your various social media platforms. I greatly appreciate that. Let me make sure my sound is straight. Everything is good. Did you guys think that we were done? Did you guys think that that was it? Because we're not. Okay, this is the second live in one single day. We're starting off the week heavy. Okay, we're hitting the ground running. I greatly appreciate everybody in here. We have DP Chicago. Good to see you, brother. B1. We have Victor Creed. Good to see you. Black First brothers and sisters. Everybody in here. I am very excited. I am very excited. Film, animation, art. I see you, bro. I am very excited. We have people just piling up in the room now. I'm very excited. Okay. Shout out to the host, Nikki the God. We got Maxwell, RG Titan, Iron Will, AK Sour God, Dark Angel. Good to see you guys already. That means you guys didn't ignore me when I said to come back. That is very important. It means a lot to me. Appreciate that. Let me take a sip from my cup, my Black First cup. It's very relevant. Okay. So without any further ado, okay, I want to get to, first off, explaining how this whole situation got set up. So a Pan Africanist, and this is no disrespect. I don't want anybody to be like, Afro, sneak this in, Afro, you doing this. No. After all of the debates I do, you can go back and look on this channel. After all of the debates that I do, I always follow it up with a breakdown of the debate. Okay? Because in every single debate, at least the ones I'm in, there are some things that you want to say, but you don't have the time to say it during the debate. And there are some tactics that you can't really call out during the debate. So I do this with everything. I don't want y'all to think, man, y'all agreed to be cool, agreed to disagree. Now, Afro, you over here talking about it. No, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. So he reached out to me. He asked me if I wanted to do a debate on Pan Africanism. Now, at the time, I didn't know he was a Pan Africanist. First, he said he wanted to do a video collab with me. I'm like, okay, that's cool. On Pan Africanism, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I didn't know if he was like coming from a B1 perspective of that, and he wanted to talk about Pan Africanism. But then later on, he told me that he was a Pan Africanist and he wanted to do like the B1 versus Pan Africanism thing. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm down with that. I love debating. I'm cool with that. Even though I only debate my equals, all others I teach, in the words of Dr. John Henrik Clark. And then it kind of got a little confusing because the title says FBA ADOS conversation. So I'm all like, okay, is this a debate? Is this a conversation? Is this like a dialogue? Like, how does this get set up? Like, I kind of approached it not necessarily. No, we are heavy in here, not even 4 minutes, and we have 40 people already. Y'all piling up in here. I know you all excited to see this, and I'm excited to show it to you guys. I really, really am. But I didn't know how it was going to get set up. I really didn't. Right? So I'm like, okay, all right. I agreed to do it. And in the beginning, he met me with good faith, but then things had a turn. There was a lot of things I disagreed with, and we're going to have a breakdown on this today. Okay? So, let's go. Let's go. B1 family to everybody in here. Black First. No, that's not the right thing. Black First to everybody in this chat room. Okay. Let me delete that.
Also, you can't use racial epithets of any kind to describe Black people in any way, shape, or form, irrespective of where they are in the world. Right. So with that being said, Brother Afro Elite is here. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for allowing me to push it back 30 minutes.
First off, shout out to the super chat. Shout out to our sister Virgo Venom. That's a nice name. Virgo Venom for the $10 super chat. Greatly appreciate that. I appreciate you, sister. Hold on. Oh, and make sure y'all hit that like button, please, please, please. Hit that like button. All right, let's go.
Had to run some errands and get some things done. But please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, how you started or came up with this term Afro Elite. Tell the people about your page, your platform, and then, of course, we could get into the course of conversation.
Okay, well, thank you. First off, thank you very much for having me. How I started to answer that question. Now this is us. We're having the dialogue. We're being friendly. Everything's going cool. Then we get in, and it's a 3-hour long broadcast. So I'm going to be skipping over a lot of parts, but I put the description of it in the video, in the description. So you guys can go check it out. It's on his page. You know, go to his page and check it out. When you do a debate with somebody, you're supposed to plug their information in. Okay. I don't have guests on my channel and I don't put their social media information in. That's just rude, but okay. That's what I did. Now we're going to skip ahead until about 30 minutes actually into the broadcast. Okay. Tad bit about 30 minutes. Now check this out.
His contemporary at the time who we worked with on the North Star newspaper, the father of Black nationalism, Martin Delany, stated that what? He said, Frederick Douglass said, well, I'm proud that I'm a Black man. And Frederick Douglass said, I'm proud that God simply made me a man. And Martin Delany wrote him back and said, well, I'm glad that God made me a Black man. And Frederick Douglass complained because they were trying to raise money for the North Star newspaper. And Martin Delany's rhetoric, which of course was rooted in, of course, Black nationalism, Black pride, and of course the audacious Black tradition of audacious self-assertion. He said, well, the white folk don't like this. And Martin Delany said, I could care not what white people think about what I say right or do. That's your problem. So once again, okay, we're taking this argument, but you're not giving the full context of why Frederick Douglass gave that position. It was because he was an integrationist, right? Now we can fast forward 100 years later. Martin Luther King was probably the greatest, most well-known Black integrationist that we've known politically, right, in African-American history. However, Dr. King had enough sense to know that on March 9th, 1957, when Ghana was the first Black nation to gain independence from colonialism in Africa, Dr. King and his acolytes had their monkey behinds in Accra, Ghana, and stated that what's going on here is connected to what we're dealing with back home because this is a global system of anti-Blackness that we're fighting against.
Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure about the statements that you heard, but I have heard statements against Pan-Africanism, and I've heard arguments against Pan-Africanism. I believe the best way to describe what should be instead of Pan-Africanism is what I would call, and of course I didn't coin this term, but I would say that this is what should be is a Black first mentality. A mentality that we, as Black people globally throughout the world, we put our Blackness first, and the Black race is the priority, and the progression and empowerment of the Black race.
But that's what Pan-Africanism is.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say.
Yes, it is. I mean, Marcus Garvey, who was the most successful Pan-Africanist in the modern era, the concept of his movement was race first.
Well, then, if that was the case, then Marcus Garvey probably didn't coin the term, because the thing is that the word pan means everything has to be reciprocal. Everything has to be both ways. I mean, if you Google the definition.
No, Pan-Africanism is about what? Black people globally.
Now, as you can see already, and this is something that I've been going through the whole time, especially within like the first hour and a half, to be honest, of him not letting me land my plane and speak. But let me close this down, because when I say pan, I know English language. I know what it means, and I'm going to show you something, because pan is P-A-N. It's a word that means multiple things, but P-A-N, in the sense of Pan-Africanism, it means both ways, globally united. That's kind of what it means, and I'm going to actually show you the definition of that. Let me get that up on the screen just real quick, okay? This is one of the definitions, okay? Pan, all inclusive, especially in relation to the whole of a continent, racial group, religion, etc. Okay, an example they use is Pan Africanist. This is a prefix saying all inclusive, both ways. That is the thing when it comes to pan in that sense, in the prefix sense. Because if you Google it, it might be a little bit difficult to find, because when you Google pan, you're gonna get a lot of actual pans to cook. But when we talk about pan in a prefix sense about unity, this is what pan means. It's all inclusive, as if it is a united concept. And the thing is with Pan Africanism, and you can Google this yourself, it is used. Is he non-FBA? He says he is FBA. He says he is FBA. If you Google this yourself, Pan Africanism, okay, and I'm taking this off the screen to put the debate back on. Pan Africanism centers around the fact that all Black people, all of us are tied to Africa. And our unity is surrounded by the continent of Africa. That is the ideology of Pan Africanism. Okay, it's not an ideology of necessarily being Black first, because it's not like they're putting their Blackness before it. Okay, now keep that in mind as we continue playing, because I just showed you the literal definition of the word pan.
Here's the difference between a Black nationalist and a Pan-Africanist. A Black nationalist is someone who advocates politically, socially, and economically for the empowerment of Black people in their particular country. A Pan-Africanist is a person who advocates for the political, social, and economic empowerment of a Black person throughout the world. For example, Malcolm X, when he was in the Nation of Islam, he was a Black nationalist. When he left the Nation of Islam, he became a Pan-Africanist.
Mm-hmm. Or he had his okay. Let me explain to you the flaws of Pan-Africanism or whatnot. Because when we use the argument of Pan-Africanism, that kind of gives the impression that there is some type of global connection to Africa that all Black people have.
That's not what it means.
Well, that's what it is. That is what it means. Now we can go into the details about, okay, well, what the origins of Pan-Africanism is, but the thing is that how in modern society do people look at Pan-Africanism, and what are the issues with Pan-Africanism?
Well, and I'm gonna answer your question. Most people actually don't.
I didn't. That wasn't really a question for me to ask. I was making a point, and he cut me off. Right? You see my face? I'm like, nigga, damn. Okay.
I know what Pan-Africanism is. When I was writing my thesis and I was doing research, there were African Americans who was like, well, what is Pan-Africanism? Is that a religion? So most people have a misunderstanding of what Pan-Africanism is because they actually never read anything about Pan-Africanism. When my son was 7 years old, I actually had him read a book entitled Pan-Africanism for Beginners. And if right in the book, it said what you said. It's about Black folks everywhere in the world. So
well, if it's about Black first, then why is it not more efficient to say Black first?
Well, because we are, well, from a Pan-African standpoint, people use the term African and Black interchangeably.
Yeah, and the thing is that might be, you can say, oh, from a Pan-Africanist standpoint, but that's not the standpoint anybody uses. Black and African is not the same thing. All Black people, and this is just history, all Black people don't come from Africa. There are Black people who've been centuries removed from Africa. They're still Black. They're still a part of the Black race. We are still a part of the Black race. We still have DNA ties to Africa. The Aboriginals who are here, the natives who are here, they still have Aboriginal ties to Africa, but they're not African. You know what I'm saying? Because if you make that argument, you would have to make the argument pretty much everybody in the world is African, because they can all tie themselves back to Africa in some degree or another, especially on the Western Hemisphere. So all Black, so that's the thing. We're not tying the connection to Africa as the motherland. That's the thing with Pan-Africanism. They tie everything to the continent of Africa. As Black first, we're tying everything to the progression of the race globally. It's not all about Africa. The thing is with Pan-Africanism, they Wakandicize. I was about to say Wakanda. They Wakandicize Africa. They make it seem like Africa is just this holy grail, the motherland of all gold and riches, which, technically it kind of is true. Africa has the most natural resources, but the thing is that we're not all descendants from Africa to that degree. We're so many centuries removed from Africa. You can't really say we're African. You can say we're just as African as a damn European can. Okay, we're very, very, very much so removed. We just have the same blackness. That's what the thing is. Not focusing on Africa, but focusing on the blackness. That is the polishing and the flaw, and why B1 is the better replacement for Pan-Africanism. But let's continue.
From a Pan-Africanist frame of reference. Now, what most people would do is they would go get someone who isn't a Pan-Africanist, have them say something. And then
now, I want to skip ahead a little bit, actually. I'm going to skip ahead, but that's us debating, because my thing is, why, if he's saying Pan-Africanism is black first, which it is not, and this is the tactic that Pan-Africanism is using now, that they're saying, well, Pan-Africanists, they really are black first. Pan-Africanists are black first. No. You don't try to say B1 is the derivative, and he kept saying that B1 is the derivative of Pan-Africanism. It is not. B1 is not the derivative of Pan-Africanism. What he's describing is not Pan-Africanism, or at least it is not the modern ideology of Pan-Africanism. And he will eventually get kind of telling himself later on, but I'm going to skip ahead. Okay. It's a lot to talk through. Hold on.
To substantiate this.
Okay, but the thing is,
this is why I said,
okay, sir,
at the top of the show, one of the core rules is not being intellectually disingenuous. There's a century of scholarship on Pan-Africanism that aligns with what I'm saying. So it isn't just because I'm saying this. I'm talking about from the 19th century to today. There is a century of scholarship that supports what I'm saying as historically accurate and factual.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question then. What is your issue with the term black first? Why is there so much pushback from you if black first and Pan-Africanism truly means the same thing and requirements are the same? Why is there so much pushback? It's
a derivative of Pan-Africanism. That's number one. The second issue is when I come in contact with individuals, and I stated about what FBA,
his chat was very disrespectful. Very disrespectful
about Pan-Africanism and black people who are not African Americans that are just patently false. And I would give you some examples, because I stated when I make a claim, I have to undergird it with factual information. So one of the things we hear people saying is, well, these black immigrants, these African immigrants from the Caribbean and Africa are eating off of what we built here in America.
Which is a fact. That is a fact. They are eating off of the benefits of, now, y'all want to pay attention to this. But okay, let's go.
Now, when you actually, critique that, it's not true.
That is true. That's very true.
I'm going to tell you why. If you look at from the Pew Research Center, the top 5 nationalities of people who have, in the past 3 years, that have immigrated to America are Mexican, Chinese, Indian, Filipino, and from El Salvador. Not from the continent, not from the Caribbean. So if anyone is eating, it would be Latinos, Asians, Indians, and Filipino people.
Who is saying that they are not eating, though?
Hold on. Here's the other issue. There were claims that people were making, say that I was just on the platform yesterday, and a woman said, well, you have African and Caribbean immigrants coming over here and instantly getting Social Security benefits. I said, I know that's not true, because in order to get SSI, you have to have a Social Security number.
Okay,
so people are making claims that are just false.
Well, actually, these claims are not false, sir. Because and here's the thing: nobody is making the argument.
If you don't have a Social Security number.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying nobody is making the argument that all these other ethnic groups are not benefiting off of the work.
So this is the point. That's the point I want to make about that. If that's true,
sir,
and the majority of the immigrants,
I mean, do you see this? And I keep trying to be, I'm trying to be so respectful, because I understand this is his platform and you have to be respectful to the host. Okay. Let me pause it for a second. When you see me hosting Twitter spaces, you see that I allow certain people to speak, even when like I have a co-host and they mean like, nah, man, shut up. I'm like, no, let them speak, let them speak. And the other people, they interrupt. I'm like, nah, let them speak, let them speak, let him say what he has to say, let her say what she has to say, and then I will retort after that. What now? I don't tolerate disrespect in my Twitter spaces. I don't tolerate you coming here and I'm talking and you cut me off. Now, if I cut you off, it is my Twitter space, which I don't do often. But if you cut me off, it's not tolerated. Okay, this is not your platform. Okay, you came to my platform. But the thing is that first off, he invited me to his platform. I didn't ask to be there. I didn't stumble upon there. He invited me to his platform. So you're inviting me to your platform and you're not letting me speak. You're not letting me really land my plane or make a good point. That's not the way you structure a debate. Now, yeah, my facial expressions pretty much said it the whole time. Every time I'm trying to talk to him, and he keep, oh my God. Well, let me take it back. I just want y'all to really see. Y'all just take this. Let me take this back real quick. Hold on. Just a tad bit. Okay, we're at 53. We can go with
There were claims that people were making say that I was just on the platform yesterday, and the woman said, well, you have African and Caribbean immigrants coming over here and instantly getting Social Security benefits. I said, I know that's not true, because in order to get SSI, you have to have a Social Security number.
okay,
So well, people are making claims that are just false.
Well, actually, these claims are not false, sir. Because and here's the thing: nobody is making the argument.
If you don't have a Social Security number.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying nobody is making the argument that all these other ethnic groups are not benefiting off of the work.
And so this is the point. That's the point I want to make about that. If that's true, and the majority of the immigrants that come here are non-black, why don't people?
I mean, I'm just sitting up there like, damn. And this is only an hour into the conversation. I'm all like, sir, dude. Like, okay, man, okay. So, but let's continue, because this is see, okay. Now, here's the problem. That is the problem. We have been addressing them. I personally been addressing them for years. We've been addressing how the Hispanics have been benefiting off of our work, how the Asians have been benefiting off of our work. We address that. The issue is that Pan Africanists have very narrow sight when it comes to what we claim we advocate for. The thing is that we can address that not Native Americans, we can address that Hispanics and Asians all benefit off of the work that we do, but that does not make it any less true that Africans and Caribbeans also benefit off of the work that we do. All of the people who immigrated to this land after America was built immigrated and benefit off of the work that Foundation Black Americans did.
Immigrated here were white.
Now, okay, first off, shout out to the super chat from Jay the Informant. Love how these people place bookshelves behind them. Yeah, these are the people, they'll put a bookshelf behind them. They'll make sure the bookshelf shows. I'm like, yep, I want to make sure it shows, because this kind of shows how intelligent I am. Gary asks, he's FBA. He says he's African American. That's what he says. Okay. Yeah, and the thing is still Kevin, more bookshelves behind means you can overtalk people. Yeah, that means you're smarter than people. That's kind of what he's getting at. But let's continue. Sir, I mean, even modern times, the people who immigrate off from whatever their homeland is, when they come over here, they are benefiting off of the work that our ancestors built.
And I would argue the reason why people are only attacking black people because they're the softest target.
I just think because, and see, that's the flaw of Pan-Africanism. That's the flaw of Pan-Africanism, because
no, that's just not
Pan-Africanism. That's the flaw of a lot of modern Pan-Africanists, because the thing is that when we are critical of people from the diaspora, then it's always, okay, you're only attacking black people. We've had years of addressing the racism in the Hispanic community, the racism in the Asian community, the fact that they piggyback off of our work, the fact that they take credit for our work, the fact that
can you give an example?
Our work. And we have to acknowledge that, but you can acknowledge multiple things at the same time.
Yes, you can, but can you give an example? You said that they take credit for our work. Could you give an example of the Latino community taking credit of the work of African Americans in America?
We are literally going through that right now because the Latino community is saying that they played a 50-50 role in the creation of hip hop. They're literally trying to strong arm themselves into the creation of hip hop right now. Latinos have always done that. They've always tried to be all like, it's been black and brown the whole time. Yeah, and watch, I gave an example, right? Yes, a lot of Latinos implied that they built this country. You have one Latino, his name is American Cholo. He has a podcast and he claims that Hispanics built the country too. You have Asians who claim that they built the railroads, and all of these things is actually are historic. No, that's historically inaccurate.
Asians did they dealt with forced labor, right?
No, okay. Pay very close attention to that statement. Okay, let me take it back like 10 seconds later. I said you have Asians who come over here and claim that they built the railroads. He says they came over here and they dealt with forced labor. Listen to this. Let me take it back. Built the country too. You have Asians who claim that they built the railroads, and all of these things is actually are historic. No, that's historically inaccurate.
Asians did they dealt with forced labor, right?
No, that's historically inaccurate, and I wrote that down in my YouTube video. No, it's historically inaccurate, sir. Now here's the thing. He's over talking me again. He asked me a question earlier. You can see where he asked me. He was like, can you give me an example? Can you give me an example? As I'm giving him an example, he cuts me off. And this happens several times in this debate. Oh, give me an example. Give me an example. Okay, I'm giving you an example, and you cut me off in the middle of my example. First off, I was making a point. Then you asked me to interrupted my point to ask me to give you an example. And then as I'm giving you an example, you cut me off again. I'm like, damn, dude. But okay, let's. He says that Asians were forced to build the railroads. Now look at how he backtracks from that. Nobody captured them and forced them to come here.
I never said that.
Off their own volition.
I never said that. I never said
okay, well, if they came here off their, you can't say something is forced if you came to do it.
No, I didn't say it was forced. All I'm saying is they did build railroads. This is something that happened.
He just said he didn't say it was forced when less than 30 seconds ago he said they dealt with forced labor. They built railroad. They did. Okay. Here's
That's
the thing.
I'm saying. I didn't say they were forced. I didn't say they weren't slaves.
Okay, so they weren't forced. They weren't slaves. Were there railroads here prior to them coming here and building railroads?
And when they were here, they were building railroads. I teach history at the
okay, yes. Okay. And see, see, I don't really like this. I'm gonna keep it real. The whole I teach history at the collegiate level. The boule, I got a bookshelf full of books. Don't nobody know what type of books, so I'm smarter than you. And he was doing that the whole time. And this ain't really me being disrespectful. This is just me breaking down my point of view of the debate. The whole, well, you know, I did a paper. I wrote a book on this. I can understand you mentioning your credentials. If you study something, if you have knowledge of something, I can understand that. But I don't understand. Oh, well, I teach this. I'm a history teacher. I do this. I do, like, dude. Okay, I didn't come. You had a debate, and I don't come to the debate, and you sit up there. Well, I teach, so I know, and you don't know. That's not how you structure a debate. That's not how that works. I do not like when that happens. But he literally said that Asians built the railroads. Now, I want to get to that statement before I really break it down. The thing is that saying that when we built railroads when we came here and saying we built the railroads are not necessarily the same thing. They're not the same statement, because one implies that, okay, when you got here, then you started building railroads. Another implies that railroads were built because you came here. And that's the difference. They make the argument that railroads were built because of them. They are the reasons for the railroads. They are not the reasons for the railroads. They have, but that's how they frame the argument. They have built railroads.
But what I can say, it is historically accurate that Asians built railroads. Now, what I will say,
okay, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but did they build? Now, here's the and this is all the way circled back to earlier in the conversation when it comes to the term when they say Asians built the railroads, that gives the implication through the terms and words that you are using that the railroads are here and the Asian people who came here and they are responsible for them. When you say Asians came here and Asians built some railroads, or Asians contributed to the building of the railroads, because there was also slaves working with the Asians who are doing that as well. So when you say Asians contributed to the building of the railroads, that doesn't solely give the credit to the Asians who participated in the building of the railroads. And see, that is the thing where they try to take credit for something that they didn't do, because they know, say Asians built the, when they say Asians built the railroads, they know the implication of that. They know that comes off as if that they built that the railroads weren't here prior to them.
Right.
And they don't tell another version of that story.
However, it's not disingenuous for them to say we built railroads, because they did.
It is disingenuous.
They actually did. This is something that they did do. They built railroads.
No.
See, the
word and this is what I'm saying. When it comes to using very specific terminology, because that can change the entire sentence. If you say, you just said it, we built railroads, Asians built railroads, that is one thing. And then saying Asians built the railroads, that is changing the conversation.
That's an issue you need to take up. But the other issue, and I even talk about this with Latino community. Latinos, well, so let's go back. We talk about the Mexican-American War, right? After the Mexican-American War.
Now, he kind of skips ahead. Now, he just now, when I got him on that point, he completely left that alone. And let me break that down real quick for you guys. Asians built railroads is one thing. That implies that they did build railroads. Saying Asians built the railroads gives a completely different implication in the sentence. If you literally write it down on a piece of paper with just Asians built railroads and then Asians built the railroads, they actually can mean two different things. One single letter, the word "the" completely changes everything, and they know that, because saying Asians built the railroads implies that the creation and the construction of the railroads is responsible and can be attributed solely to Asians, to the Chinese. Asians building railroads, you can say white people built railroads, but did white people build the railroads? No. Adding the word "the" gives Asians all the credit for it. That's why we push back against it. I'm not saying that Asians didn't build any railroads, but to say they built the railroads give the implication that there were not railroads here, and that the railroads are contributed to them, to their work. Okay, so and he caught on that, and then he left it alone. He completely flew by that. Okay, but let me fast forward a little bit. Where am I? I'm about an hour in. Okay. Now, I'm going to fast forward about 15 minutes in, because we also talk about, the term coon, right? To the race and who go against the grain of the race.
Pseudo-activists, or as Dr. Amos Wilson would call pseudo-nationalists, focus on the external, right? But as we know, just like I used to box, if we're doing what we need to do, the majority of what they're trying to do will be unsuccessful.
I disagree with that. And here's why I disagree with that is because as foundational Black Americans, we have always had the concept that we have enemies from the inside. Now, is there in every single ethnic group, if we want to talk about certain religious communities, and I don't say that because YouTube is very specific when it comes to censorship, I'm sorry, but you have traitors in every single ethnic group. The thing is that as foundational Black Americans, we have a culture of actually naming and ostracizing people who are traitors to the movement. That's where the term coon, Uncle Sam, Sambo, race traitor, all of these terms are terms that say, okay, you are somebody who is against the empowerment of our people. And these terms, the term coon, the term Uncle Tom, the term Sambo, even the concept of those terms They don't exist
These
outside the
terms came
diaspora.
from what? Minstrel shows, not from
That doesn't, that sir, that doesn't, that. Shout out to Jay the Informant for his super chat saying I debated Pan Africanist strike, Pan African strike back. He talked over me and bigged up Pan Africanism, saying his people and Umar are building FDMG, and talked down on ADOS slash FBA slash ADOS. What is FDMG? What does that mean? And shout out to the super chat. And see, that's the thing with the Pan African is they don't let you speak. They do not let you speak. Exactly, film animation arts. The American railroads was mostly built by slaves and FBA people, which is why we have folklore about black people working, not black workers, not Asians. Guys, do you know Sam Cooke made a song about black people building the railroads? Go to and I broke this down in a video I did before. Let me like pause for a second. I broke this down in the video I did before. Go look up if you guys haven't seen it. Listen to the song Sam Cooke did called Chain Gang. Okay, what they would do is they would have black people out in the fields and they would all be shackled to each other. Their ankles would be shackled to each other, and they would call that a chain gang. And the chain gang would be working on the railroads and building the railroads. And as FBA, we knew this. That's what they did when they would have you leave the prison to work on something. They would strap you to what they would call a chain gang. They didn't do that to the Asians. They did not do that to them. They did that to us. So you and everybody, Sam Cooke even made a song about it. It's literally called Chain. I can't play it, of course, but it's literally called Chain Gang. So we did the work. Most of the work was done by us. They're just taking all the credit for it. And they got paid. Nobody forced them to come over here. They got paid for what they did. We didn't. And nor were they faced with the extreme, harsh, inhumane conditions that we were. But let's continue. Because you're wondering in the details. Now, here's the thing. I said, as FBA culture, we have it within our culture to call people coons, Uncle Tom, sellout, bootlicks, tap dancers, all of these things that we call out, these names and terms that we call out because we have a culture, and listen to what I'm saying, we have a culture of ostracizing people who go against black society. That is in our culture. That is not in the culture of the diaspora. So I'm saying the term coon, the term Uncle Tom, the term this and this and this, that is in our culture. That's not in their culture. Okay. Oh, you said FDMG is Umar School. Okay, all right. I know I heard about it before. I just you're minoring in the because the thing is that where it came from is not really the argument. That's not where it came from. Sir, yes, sir. It came from the fact that we have a culture. You can't argue that we don't. We have a culture of looking at people who are not beneficial to the race and who go against the grain of the race as traitors to the movement, traitors to the people. And we have specific multiple names for those people. We are the only people who use terms like sellout, Uncle Tom, coon, and even you can argue the origin of those terms, but I'm talking about the concept. Sir, I'm talking about the concept. See, when you major in the minors, then we can kind of get distracted from the argument. I'm talking about the concept of those things.
When you have a conversation with me.
So, okay, sir, but the thing is that you're missing the point deliberately, sir.
I'm like that even with my own parents. So my parents make a claim that
now you see, I'm like, he does not let me, like, dude, I cannot speak. And he does it as if, yeah, I'm just beating you with knowledge. No, you're not letting the other person get their point across. So it makes people disengage with the conversation just in general. People just feel like, you know what, you have it, because I'm not trying to argue and you're not letting me speak. Now, what I'm saying is we have a culture of calling out our coons and they don't. But let's continue. But before we do, actually, shout out to the super chat from Christopher Ellis. I saw the debate you were in. I saw the debate and you were clearly concise and constructive. He was there to argue, not to learn. Exactly. Or even have a respectful debate. He didn't even want to really have a respectful dialogue or debate. It was really just like a damn bullying session, to be honest. But let's continue.
So historically it's false. I'm going to G-check them.
Okay, what is historically false, sir?
Well, you stated that these terms originated from our culture. And that, of course, is not true.
Okay, where did the term originate from? I didn't say that, actually. I didn't say that, but where did the term originate from?
Most people didn't say, well, and this is a tweaking the sheet talking point. Well, we have a culture of X, Y.
Now, I asked him, where did the terms originate from? Where did the term coon? Where did the term Uncle Tom? Where did the term Sambo and bootleg? Where did those terms originate from? He skips that question. He skips that entirely. That does come from our culture. That does come from our culture. He skipped that entirely.
No, we don't. Because we had a culture.
Now, he says, we do not have a culture of calling out our coons. Now, and he says that's a Tariq Nasheed talking point. Let's continue.
Let me get my words right. If we had a culture of actually expelling and people who were not for our benefit, we wouldn't have our inner cities running around with a bunch of miscreants. People that were committing crimes and selling drugs wouldn't be running around in our communities if we had a culture of expelling people who were not for Black progress. This is
okay. And oh, you know what? And here's the thing, because we're going into the black on black crime argument. Here's the thing with that.
Because it ain't just
even if we don't do it 100% as efficiently as we are supposed to do it, we do it better than everybody else from the diaspora. And here's my argument as to why. Because whether you argue where the term came from, and that's minoring in the paying too much attention to minor details that are irrelevant. The thing is that we have the culture of the concept of ostracizing, even if it's not all, even if we don't do it as efficiently, we have the culture of the concept. You can't even argue that we don't, because nowhere in the diaspora do they have a term. There's no Nigerian, sir. There is no Nigerian term for coon. There is no Nigerian term.
Have you ever been in Nigeria?
Sir, I know a lot of. There's a lot of Nigerians that live in Chicago, sir. So now you see, now when I ask a question, he does not answer the question. Now when he asks a question, he forces. I'm like, have you been to Nigeria? Have you been to Nigeria, sir? I don't have to go to Nigeria and be in Nigeria to know that there's no Nigerian term for a certain word. I don't have to actually go to Nigeria to understand that. There is no term. You can ask Nigerians. I've had Nigerians on this actual channel before, multiple times. I've had Nigerians in these Twitter spaces. There is no Nigerian term for a coon or Uncle Tom or a sellout. There is no Nigerian concept for that. There is for Akata, for Black Americans, a derogatory term for Black Americans. They don't have one for coons. In Nigeria, they use our terms for that. And not just Nigeria, all throughout the diaspora. FBA culture, we're the only one who has that concept of coming up with all our own terms to ostracize coons and sellouts. They don't. They don't have that concept.
Have you ever been in Nigeria?
Sir, see, you're not letting me talk. I'm gonna be honest. This has been a very one-sided debate. To be honest. Now this is the first time. This isn't the only time. This is the first of 3 times when I had to admit to him, I'm like, dude, this is an hour in. Like, dude, I'm barely speaking. You're barely letting me speak at all. And it's not like I get to go on long spills before you interrupt me. I barely get 1 or 2 minutes to speak, and then bam, you're interrupting me, and you go on and on and on and on. Then when you stop, I start speaking, and then you interrupt me again and go on and on and on and on. Look at this. At this point, I'm kind of really getting frustrated. I'm like, dude, too much attention to minor details that are irrelevant. The thing is that we have the culture of the concept of ostracizing, even if it's not all, even if we don't do it as efficiently, we have the culture of the concept. You can't even argue that we don't,
Yeah.
because
Other cultures do
nowhere
have this
in the
too.
diaspora do they have a
Have you
term.
ever
There's
been-
no
have you ever been to another
Nigerian,
country?
sir, there is no Nigerian term for coon. There is no Nigerian
Have you ever
term.
been to Nigeria?
Sir, I know a lot of there's a lot of
Have you
Nigerians
been
that
answer
live in
the question?
Chicago, sir.
Have you ever
Sir,
been to
sir,
Nigeria?
see, you're not letting me talk. I'm gonna be
I'm
honest.
just asking the
This has been a
question
very
because
one-sided
you're making
debate.
claims.
Be honest.
Every
Because
other
as I'm
country
speaking,
has claims
as I'm
for people that
speaking,
they
you
believe-
ask me a question. When you're speaking, I don't ask anything.
Okay. All cultures
All right,
have
here we go.
terms for people that they believe are not working in their own best interest. You go to
Sir,
Jamaica,
sir,
they're
sir.
still necklacing people.
What? Okay, so what is no? That's inaccurate,
No.
sir.
It is true. I've been to Jamaica several times.
Okay,
I've seen it myself.
sir. Okay, you've been to Jamaica. Have you been everywhere else, sir? No.
Yes,
I'm saying-
I've been to a number of countries. My passport
Okay.
is
So
like a
what is
sellout.
the Nigeria? Now we have multiple terms for our sellouts. We have multiple concepts for people who are selling out. I've had these conversations with people from there, people born natively in Nigeria. They don't have the concept of calling people coons, calling people sellouts. They don't have that concept. I'm talking about not just the term, because yeah, they might have a term, but the concept of being against the race does not exist there.
I would have to disagree, but that's neither here nor there.
No, that's not neither here nor there. The diaspora does not have the concept. He doesn't have. The diaspora just really does not have the concept of ostracizing. Hold on. They don't have the concept of ostracizing people who go against the race. They don't have that. And I'm not speaking for every single individual in the diaspora, but in general, the diaspora has the every man for themselves concept. That's just what it is. Okay. I'm not even trying to say that disrespectfully, but that's what it is. They have the every man for themselves construct. So they don't really look at the sellouts and the coons as anything bad. They look at it like, hey, I get it. You getting it how you live. We as FBA, we look at that like, no, dude, you got to stick with the group. You don't sell out for your own individual benefit. You stick with the group. You're a coon, you're a Sambo, Uncle Tom, all of these multiple terms. You're a bootlick, you're a buck broken, all of these terms that we use, they don't have. They don't even have the concept for those terms. Okay. Now, let me skip ahead a little bit because I want to get to another part too. Hold on. Okay. I'm skipping forward a little bit. Let me see something. Now, this is where he said, I'm talking white nationalist talking points.
Jesse Lee Peterson is another one. He started spewing out white nationalism that, you know, he gets a platform, right? But the other issue I have is that irrespective of what a person's nationality is, if you're willing to promote...
Torian is hilarious. He says, did my super vein almost appear? Did he try to make you go over 9,000? I pretty much did towards the end of the video. At the end of the video, you can see my afro starting to spike up because I was turning into a Super Saiyan. Okay. Yeah, we were on for like almost a little over 3 hours, like 3 hours, 8 seconds, 7 seconds. But now he's going off with the white nationalist talking point.
White nationalist, white conservative talking points. Some type of Sheriff David Clark is another one.
What is a white? I'm confused by your statement. What is white conservative talking point?
So white conservative talking points is typically white conservative talking points promote a negative, pejorative picture of Black people as our culture being dysfunctional, right? That we can't form families, we don't like to work, we're lazy, we all on drugs. These are the type of talking points that they make about, they talk about why can't we just all be Americans? You know, the reality of the situation.
My confidence is gone because I can't speak really, but keep going.
Well,
now here's the thing, and I said that because his chat room is trolling the hell out of me. His chat room's all like, "Oh, look at him now. Oh, he's not confident anymore now, huh? Look at his face. Oh, he's white. Oh, look at it, like he wants to be Indian." his chat room was trolling me, and I'm like, and he said, "Oh, his confidence is gone now," and I said, "My confidence is gone because I can't speak. He's not letting me speak." Let's continue.
Talking points that white conservatives make.
Okay.
Right, about black people. And so then when you find a black person who's willing to internalize these things and then spew them themselves, they get a platform.
Okay. So the thing is that even though I agree with you, the thing is pattern recognition. And the thing is that the grievance is not the same. The grievance of somebody from within the culture, within the lineage, doing something against the lineage is not the same as somebody being allowed to come here based off of the work of the lineage, and then when they get here, undermining the lineage. The grievance is not the same at all. You have Nigerian tribes that are arguing and beefing with each other. And they do things against the lineage. That is one thing. It is a completely different thing, and everybody would see it as a completely different thing if I, as a foundational Black American, go to Nigeria and do the same thing, because the grievance is not the same. And see, that's what we're saying. When even if you have a foundational Black American who speaks negatively against reparations, that's one thing. It's a completely different thing when you have a non-foundational Black American Black person who speaks negatively against reparations, because truth be told, you don't qualify for reparations. So you really don't get a voice. And the thing is that what the dominant white society does is the dominant white society tends to vet the people who are coming over here. We agree. They vet the people who are coming over here, and then they give those people the biggest platforms. Because more than likely, based off of pattern recognition of who they allow to come over here, based off of pattern recognition, they know that those people who come over here are going to be against the grain of Black empowerment. So they give them the biggest platforms. Some of the biggest anti-reparationists are non-FBA. I can show you a video. The Candace Owens, Kamala Harris, all of these quote unquote Black people who are reparations, they are non-FBA. So this is what we're saying. We're not saying that we don't have any Black Americans that go against the grain. We are saying that it is a different grievance, and that we need to start circling the wagons when it comes to non-Black Americans are going against the grain. I'm not saying that all non-Black Americans are going against the grain either. That's not my argument. I know you might have heard that someplace else, but that's not my argument. My argument is the fact that anybody who goes against the grain needs to be handled accordingly. And the thing is that if you are not from the land, if you are not from the soil, if this is not your homeland, you going against the grain doubles your grievance, doubles the offense. That's what it is, yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, there are a number of African Americans who are some of the leaders of anti-reparation.
We want to do a competition where we list the people who are of FBA lineage, and then we list the people who are of non-FBA lineage who go against the grain of reparations.
I think there would be more who are FBA.
I would disagree with you. I would disagree. Now, even if you talk about the number, let's talk about the. Now, here's the thing, and I made this statement multiple times. You coming to somebody else's homeland and you disrespecting them, or you messing up the progress for the native population, that's worse. That's a lot worse than you being of the lineage and you being a Sambo. It's worse because you wouldn't even be allowed over here. That's what makes it worse. They wouldn't even be allowed in this land had we not fought for them to come here, fought for the rights for them to be here. So them coming over here based off of our fighting and our work, off of the hard work, sweat, tears, pain, and suffering that our ancestors went through, them coming over here and then them being disrespectful and then them doing things to sabotage us is a lot worse than somebody who is native here, a FBA person doing something to sabotage us. Those are two completely different things. The level of their platform, sir.
Well, once again,
like for instance, who has a bigger platform? What FBA person at the moment? Now, okay. Now I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because you see where he was all like the white talking points. I'm not saying all non-FBA. I personally don't believe all non-FBA are messing up America or messing up black society. I'm saying the ones that are, we need to especially address them because their grievance is double the offense. Okay? And he keeps going into this whataboutism. When I say it went, because he makes the argument, oh, well, what are they doing? What are they doing? And then I bring up like, okay, this is what they're doing. Well, FBA do it too. FBA do that too. Okay, nobody said FBA didn't do that. But what we're saying is that when they do it, it's worse when they do it. I don't know if he's married. I don't know. I know he has children. I don't know if he's married or if his wife is FBA or not. But based off of the cape, and either he's non-FBA or he's closely related to somebody who's non-FBA, because that's most of the time where these talking points come from. Let me see. I'm going to fast forward a tad bit. Now, look at this. Now, he just said I was talking white conservative talking points, and then check how he talks about black on black crime. Look at this. Now, he just said I was talking white conservative talking points. Now, look at this. People, they will kill white people if they get in the way. They're not trying to. That's not their goal to kill white people. A lot of the white nationalist goal, when they have a goal to kill specific black people, their goal isn't to kill white people. Hold on, let me see. But if white people come in the way, then they will. No, what part of what I stated about them being non-FBA is inaccurate? I never said that.
Because they were considered
victims. Those are victims acting out. Hold on, look at this. They will kill white people. Now we're talking about white nationalists and white people killing other white people. Because then when I say that non-FBA comes and they causes problems, then he pointed to, well, FBA, don't FBA be killing other FBA? That was his argument. So then he brought up, I'm like, yeah, everybody kill white people. So this is where we are in this conversation, in this point. They get in the way. They're not trying to. That's not their goal to kill white people. A lot of the white nationalist goal, when they have a goal to kill specific black people, their goal isn't to kill white people. But if white people come in the way, then they will kill them. But this goes back to my argument before when I was saying, as a black American, me and you are both black Americans, right? We know we have issues within our ethnic group. So does everybody else within our ethnic group. Okay.
But it doesn't. You might have when we do harm to each other. That don't make you mad.
It does make me mad, of course. Any harm that is done to any harm that is, it does not make me more mad. I'm gonna be honest. It does not make me more mad because I understand a lot of the harm that we do to each other is it stems from the system of white supremacy.
Right, and I would agree.
Now, notice he said it doesn't make you more mad. Why he says that is because he earlier in the conversation made the argument that, oh, well, when black people kill black people, it's worse. And I get more upset when black people kill black people. And that's why I'm all like, it makes me upset when any black person is killed or harmed in any way, but it doesn't make me more mad. That's the, man, we just got to do better, man. Come on, man. Why are we doing this to each other? That's it be your own people. It's always your own people. You can't even trust your own people. Why black people do this to other black people? That's that argument that he makes. So that's why I said it don't make me more mad. It makes me mad, but I don't get more mad when another black person does it. Now, let me take it back so I can give my explanation as to why. Let me take it back so I can give my explanation as to why. Any harm that is done, any harm that is, it does not make me more mad. I'm gonna be honest. It does not make me more mad because I understand a lot of the harm that we do to each other it stems from the system of white supremacy.
Right, and I would agree.
So I understand those are victims. Those are victims acting out on their victimized state, which is unfortunate. But to be honest, every time I see a black person harm another black person, I trace that back to white supremacy, and I blame the origin of that. I blame white supremacy for that.
Well, I believe in being self-determining. As I said, one of the 3 ends of black power is being self-determining. And so part of that means that irrespective of what they did, we have the ability to think and be think for ourselves and have agency. So part of the issue is if we always trace anything negative that we do to white supremacy, then there's no agency there. There's no
no. You're wrong. That's incorrect because you can trace the origin back. Okay, there's a difference between responsibility and blamefulness. You can blame the black person for acting out on the victimized state of white supremacy, but the responsibility for putting that black person in that condition is white supremacy.
No, the responsibility is on us. We control our behavior. The responsibility is on us. The
thing is that when you put people in a condition, and this goes globally throughout the world, when you put people in a condition, and that person kind of make the condition that you place the person in makes a person coarse, makes a person hardened, makes a person less civilized. You can't say, yeah, I'm looking at the black person for the black person's agency, though. But we always, and this is how you find justice, you always have to go to the origin of the issue. The origin of the issue is white supremacy.
Well, so two things could be true at the same time. Number one, we know that when we talk about the racially disempowering, self-defeating, and self-destructive behavior that black people engage in, a lot of that is what internalized racism, internalized bigotry. We
Which understand is white supremacy's fault.
This is why, you unfortunately see individuals, you see sisters, they don't want to wear their real hair. You see brothers don't want to be educated. They call themselves the N-word. They see themselves as the N-word. They don't want to value education, all of that, right? However,
I disagree with the N-word concept.
Hold on. One of the things I've told my son since he was a toddler, and this is the reality.
Then you see the way he tells me to hold on? We're like an hour and 40 minutes into the conversation, and he tells me to hold on like I've been interrupting him the whole time. Look. Always, and this is how you find justice, you always have to go to the origin of the issue. The origin of the issue is white supremacy.
Well, so two things could be true at the same time. Number one, we know that when we talk about the racially disempowering, self-defeating, and self-destructive behavior that black people engage in, a lot of that is what internalized racism, internalized bigotry. We
Which understand is white supremacy's fault.
This is why, you unfortunately see individuals, you see sisters, they don't want to wear their real hair. You see brothers don't want to be educated. They call themselves the N-word. They see themselves as the N-word. They don't want to value education, all of that, right? However,
I disagree with the N-word concept.
Hold on. One of the things I've told my son since he was a toddler, and this is the reality, if you fail to control yourself, somebody else will. So growing up, when he lacked self-control, I said, who's controlling you? He would say, you are. Right? Dad is controlling me. But when you become an adult and you lack self-control, guess what happens? Now the sheriff's department is controlling you. And it's called the county jail. Right? So the reality of the situation is irrespective of what position that we are in, no matter where we are in the world, we have to practice agency. We have to practice self-determination. We have to practice the ability to control our person. That is a reality, because irrespective of the origins of where many of these negative behaviors come from, the reality is in today's world, we're still going to be the ones who are held accountable for the behavior.
We've always have been, yes.
So,
and I agree. And where we disagree, sir, is the fact that I'm saying that we can blame, like you said, you can do two things at the same time. You can blame the person for acting out on their victimized state, but you also have to blame white supremacy for that as well too. You can't say, "Oh, well, just that's to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps."
No, it's called self-control. That's what every
no. You can have self-control, and you can still say, "Let's look at the origin of what molded this person into being the type of individual that the person is."
Well, see, here's the reality.
Let me break that down, okay? You can do both, and that's the thing. We do understand the balance of both of those things. It's not always one or the other. We know that the origin of all of this stuff, the degeneracy, the violence, and all of that is white supremacy. That doesn't mean if a black person is out there committing crimes, killing people, doing harm to other people, that we all like, oh, well, it's not his fault. Oh, just leave him alone. No, you still have responsibility for how you act, but we still have to place the main responsibility on the people who put him in that condition that formed him into being that. If somebody is starving and they break into somebody's house to get some food or something like that, yeah, you still have the responsibility, because no matter if you're starving, you still shouldn't be harming other people breaking into their house. But let's also focus on, why is that person starving? Who's stealing that person's food away? If you have a child and you mold this child into becoming like some type of beast, uncivilized monster, and then the child grows up and starts beating on people, you can blame the child for it, but you also have to blame the parents. You have to blame white supremacy. You can't say, oh, it ain't got nothing to do with white supremacy, it's our fault. No, that's not pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. Hey, you control your own self, don't you? It is all your fault. Stop blaming white supremacy. That's what he's saying. But listen, just pay attention. It's coming up soon. Let me get back to the main thing. Y'all are deep in this chat room. Exactly, Michael. Nuance is very important. Okay. You saying no, we don't do that. That's white people. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to me. Please make sure you guys are leaving a like in this video as well. Please make sure you guys are doing that. But let's continue.
Up into the 1960s, many of these issues that we found in the Black community didn't even take place. So we didn't even behave.
Let me ask you that.
So we didn't even behave, and you can ask your question after I make my statement. We didn't even behave this way by and large, even through chattel enslavement, even through Reconstruction, even through the First Nadir, even through Jim Crowism. We wasn't acting like this. So I make the argument that a lot of these behaviors come from the intersection of three things: integration, the liberalization of Black community values, and the breakdown of the Black family unit.
I would add a fourth, and I agree with that. And I would add a fourth thing, and I would add immigration.
How do immigrants play a role in Black people engaging in self-destructive behavior?
I would add Black immigration.
How? How did people immigrate into America cause Black African Americans to engage in self-destructive behavior?
Well, the thing is that I didn't say one. I'm saying all four of those things.
Okay, but can you tell me how that fourth?
Because the thing is that when you bring those Black people in, you bring those Black people, and then you say, for instance, a Jamaican, a Caribbean, and Africa, all these Nigerians, they're all Black. So all of their negative behaviors that they do, that's contributed to Black people. And when you say Black people in America, you automatically have the assumption that you're talking about Black Americans. There is no distinction between Nigerian doing a crime and see, sir.
We're not talking about other people.
The thing is that you're not letting me land my plane. So you're missing the point.
Because you're not having answered the question.
Because I'm getting to the question, sir. If I can answer the question, okay. The thing is that when you add those people in, and when those people do crimes, those are marked as Black people's crimes.
And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when we do crimes.
Okay.
But forget trying to lump in Caribbean immigrants. We're talking about just our community. Okay. How do immigrants affect what we do in our community? Foundation of Black American community. I ain't talking about nobody else.
Okay. And I'm bringing up the numbers as to why, because you're saying, oh,
no, I'm not talking about numbers. I'm talking about what we do. If I walk down the street and smack every Black person I see, what does that have to do with a Black immigrant?
See, that's really bad faith arguments. That's bad faith argument right there. Okay, first off, nobody's saying that they make us do anything. But he's talking about, look at the degeneracy in Black society. And here's the thing, in America, especially when you say Black people or the Black community, you instantly think of Black Americans, foundational Black Americans. Okay, so when a person who is non-FBA, when they do a crime, they'll just mark that down as Black people doing a crime, which gives the implication that it's Black American crime. Because when there's Somali gangs all over the place, when Somali gangs, when they kill each other, when the Nigerian gangs, when the Haitian gangs, when the Jamaican gangs, when they do something, the news don't report it as Jamaican gang. The news doesn't report it that way. They report it as Black on Black crime. So of course that's going to seem like, oh my God, this is this huge sudden uptick in Black on Black crime, but it's not all Black Americans doing it. It's other groups of people coming here and they're doing the crime, and then it's all getting labeled under Black, which gives the implication that it's all Black American. And that's what I'm trying to explain to him. But watch, because eventually I'm gonna address how he's not letting me speak again. No, it doesn't have to do with it.
Exactly, it doesn't have anything to do with him.
Okay,
it doesn't have anything to do with
sir.
It comes down to what?
Like you see, look, you see how as I'm speaking, he's like going off. Like this man is triggered. I even listen, you look at my body language. I even like, okay, oh, like, all right, oh, okay, calm down, like, hey, it ain't that deep. Like, you look at I'm confused. Like, what is this man so upset for? Look, okay, let me take it back because I can show you better than I can tell you. If I can answer the question, okay. The thing is that when you add those people in, and when those people do crimes, those are marked as black people's crimes.
And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when we do crimes.
Okay.
Forget trying to lump in Caribbean immigrants. We're talking about just our community. Okay. How do immigrants affect what we do in our community? Foundation of Black American community. I ain't talking about nobody else.
Okay. And I'm bringing up the numbers as to why, because you're saying, oh,
no,
look,
I'm not talking about numbers. I'm talking about what we do. If I walk down the street and smack every black person I see, what does that have to do with a black immigrant?
No, it doesn't have to do with
it. Exactly. It doesn't have anything to do with them.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with them. It comes down to what? 3 major issues: the liberalization of black community values, the breakdown of the black family, and integration. As I stated before, on my platform, you can't be intellectually disingenuous. I made that claim from the get-go. That's how I run my platform. And it really burns my grits when people are making intellectually disingenuous arguments. I don't care if a person disagrees with me. More power to you. My parents disagree with me. My sister disagrees with me. But when someone makes a claim that is factually inaccurate, I take umbrage with that.
Sir, I believe that, and I'm trying to be as respectful as do you guys understand the amount of patience? I literally had to bring it up out of my soul. It was like deep in my soul. I'm like, I'm looking at it. First off, it's hilarious how angry he is. And then I'm looking at like nigga, what? Like, first off, your arguments are terrible. And then second off, what is you getting so mad for? Like, you see how calm I am pretty much the whole time. I'm not speaking the whole time, but pretty much the whole time. I'm looking at it. Even when he cuts me off, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wait for our opening to speak again. But even I'm like, dude, and then he just goes. I'm like, dude, like nigga, are you okay? You want to take a break? Okay, but look at this. Okay, because I had to address it eventually. Getting upset, and I'm with all due respect, you're getting upset at the fact that I'm just not agreeing with you. I'm adding on to what you're saying, and I'm not saying what you're saying is fundamentally flawed, but you're missing out key points.
That's not
You're missing those key points. My thing is, damn, sir, you invited me on here to speak, and you're not letting me speak. Damn, the whole time for me to make a point, I have to speak over you, sir. That's rude. Okay. When I have guests on my platform, I let them speak. You have barely let me speak this entire time, sir.
And well, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is something I do with everyone, including my parents. If you start saying something that is factually dishonest or incorrect, I cut a person off.
Okay, well, if that is the case, how can you have a healthy debate, sir? How can you have a healthy debate with somebody if the second you disagree, you're cutting that person off?
It's not about disagreeing. I don't have a problem with someone saying something I disagree with. Okay, but I have a problem with someone making a claim that is
even false. If you have, sir, I'm a debater. Even if you have a debate, you still have to let that person finish their point before you retort. The second you hear something that you say is inaccurate, you're cutting that person. No. That's not how you have a healthy debate.
As you just stated,
you've invited me on here. I've barely spoken the whole time. And every time I have to speak, it's almost like I have to argue with you to speak. He says that's not true. That's not true. That is very true. Have a free chance to really land my plane.
Well, as I stated, and you just stated that black people engaging in self-destructive behavior has nothing to do with black immigrants.
And he completely ignores that. He does not recognize that at all. He completely changes gears right after I said that. I went on a whole spiel like, dude, you're not letting me speak whatsoever at all. And the second I get done, he's like, okay, what you said was black people. I'm like, dude, he did not acknowledge the fact that he did not let me speak. And we're almost 2 hours in the conversation, and I had to let him know repeatedly, like, dude, can I finish the point? You asked me to come here.
immigrants. Now you try to lump in, maybe they try to lump in the numbers together, but even if you take the numbers out, if we engage in self-destructive, self-defeating, racially disempowering behavior, that has nothing to do with Black immigrants. It has nothing to do with Chinese immigrants. It has nothing to do with anyone. It has to do with what? The way that we live our daily lives.
And nobody is saying that Foundation Black Americans are perfect, at least not me. I'm not saying that Foundation Black Americans are perfect. I'm not saying that we don't have any room to improve. But what I am saying is that just because we have room to improve does not mean that we should ignore the fact that we have other people coming from outside of the country, other Black people coming from outside of the country who are doing things that are harming. Not all, of course not. I'm not saying all, but we do have to focus on the people who are, because that is a higher offense than the people from inside the culture doing it.
Right.
Because of the fact that they wouldn't even be here had it not been for our people, had it not been for us building the country, number one, fighting for the country, number two, and then fighting for the rights for them to come here, number three. Had it not been for us doing all three of those things, they wouldn't even be here. And they have the audacity to come here and then to create confusion, harm, and chaos in the community that makes it a higher offense.
Chaos in our community. We do that enough ourselves. Just keep it above. We do that enough ourselves.
Doesn't matter. That's not the argument, sir.
And I would argue that's not the argument, because most immigrants, as many people who promote your FBA concept, argue that immigrants don't even associate with African Americans. So how could they be causing confusion if they don't even associate with us? That's the thing.
First off, I'm not sure where you were hearing me, because you're saying a lot of FBA. FBA is just a term.
I could give you two examples. Tariq Nasheed has made these claims, and the brother on the Uncle Phil on the African Diaspora News channel have made these claims.
Made the claims of what? That
they don't associate with us. So once again, if they're not associating with us, how could they then come into our culture and communities and create confusion?
You can clearly do that. You can easily do that. Because when you get into politics, you don't have to associate yourself as an African American. A lot of the people who are arguing, and I can show you a clip if you want to see it. A lot of the people from the diaspora who argue that we don't deserve reparations, they don't have to associate with Black people to be in conflict with Black people. They can easily say, "Hey, well, I'm a Jamaican and I be against." I don't know if you have seen it, but I can easily show that to you. I can show you how they can be disconnected with Black Americans and still create chaos with Black Americans. That can easily be done. And I'm not saying all. I am just saying that it is time, because we have overlooked it for so long. It is time that we also, and I'm not saying only, but also focus on that aspect of the issue.
Can you give me some examples of Black immigrants causing chaos and confusion in our community?
Okay, let me give you this. And yeah, Torian, you're right. I did do a shameless plug. I deliberately turned the camera. I turned it to the logo so the camera can see it. And then when I took a sip that way, you got to advertise like that. Now, we got a lot of people in here. Please make sure you guys have not subscribed. Please make sure you do so. Here's what they don't have to associate with us. But the thing is that they are Black. They wear our uniform. They have coarse hair like we do. They have dark skin like we do. They have the facial features that we do. So when they go out and they commit crimes and they engage in the stereotypes against Black people, that's bad for the whole group. Okay? When they do stuff and they're in the communities and they rob somebody and the description isn't Nigerian, it's not Jamaican, it's not Haitian, this description is Black. That is the problem. That is how you can do something. You don't have to be associated with the race to disrupt the race or do damage to the race. You do not have to do that. But watch my example.
This is even something people in the chat are asking. Like,
okay, so okay, so are you talking about like specific crimes or something like that?
No, I'm not talking chaos or confusion, not committing a crime. You say chaos or confusion in our culture.
Okay, yeah. For instance, a lot of the rap, like you're talking about like the Black on Black crime. So I'm assuming that you're talking about like what, like the degeneracy of the culture. You have, for instance, you have a lot of rappers out here who are rapping about murdering and killing and harming and doing all these drugs and stuff like that. A lot of them are non-FBA. You have
And
a lot
of them are FBA as well.
Doesn't matter. That you're missing the point. But here's the thing. You have a lot of people who are also in the political film. You have a lot of people who are also. I meant field, not film. Realm too.
Okay.
Here's the thing. You keep making an argument of whataboutism. That is not.
No, I'm not talking about what about. What I'm saying is you're saying that they're causing the confusion. I'm saying that the issues you bring up.
No. And I got you again. See, that is the thing. When you use specific terminologies and when you use specific words, it completely changes what you mean. I didn't say that they are causing the. I never used the term, sir. Let me finish, sir. I'm not using. I literally got. At this point, I'm actually getting really frustrated. At first, I was asking, can I finish? After going on that rant, like, dude, okay, let me finish. He still doesn't. So at this point, me and him, you can kind of tell there's tension going back and forth because I'm fed up at this point. Okay. Word the. I am using the word confusion. They don't have to be the only people doing it. They don't have to be the originators of the people doing it. If they are doing it, it needs to be addressed. That is all I'm arguing. Because when you say, "Oh, you guys are saying they are causing the issue," we're not saying that they are causing the issue. We are saying that there are a percentage of them that are causing an issue, and they need to be addressed. But the thing is that you, sir, are making a straw man argument by saying that we are arguing that they are causing the problem and they are the problem. That is not the argument that we're making. That's the straw man argument that you're making for us. We are acknowledging that they cause a problem and that problem needs to be addressed.
Okay, they cause a problem. Well, once again, as I stated before, you said that they're causing confusion by promoting degeneracy in rap lyrics. I don't like
that. Now here we go. Now let me break that down. This is why if you guys have not studied the work of I would consider him personally to be like on a doctor level, but our brother Neely Fuller Jr., when he talks about the importance of using specific words, okay, when I say they are causing a problem, that is very, very, very different from me saying they are causing the problem. Because when I use the word the, that says that solely them, or they are the main ones, they are the ones sole responsible for the issues that are being caused. That is not the argument that I'm making. I'm not saying it's all, the only problem is the tethers. I am saying tethers are a problem. What a straw man argument is, if you guys didn't know, what a straw man argument is they are, okay, let me just give you the origin of a straw man argument so this can be really, really clear. You know how in farms and stuff like that, they would have scarecrows. Scarecrows are straw men. They are artificial men. They are men made out of straws, so it can give the appearance to scare the crows away. That is where the origin of the straw man coming from. Torian Rain is on another level tonight. Shout out to our brother Torian. But so with the straw man argument, what that means is they're creating a fake argument and they're retorting to a fake argument. They're responding to a fake argument, which means is that you can say something clearly and then they form your argument and make it seem like it's something else. They create a false argument and they make it seem like that's your argument. And they attack the argument that they said that you made. Like for instance, okay, if I say racist police are a big problem, and then somebody says, "Oh, are you saying that every single police officer in the world that has ever lived is racist?" No, that's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying I'm saying. That's a straw man argument. You're taking my statement and then you're creating your own customized version of my argument, of my stance, and then you're attacking the stance that you made for me. That's not my original stance. my original stance in this section is not me saying that Nigerians, Jamaicans, immigrants in general are the problem, as if they left it wouldn't be a problem. I'm saying the ones that come over here and cause a problem, we have to acknowledge that that is a bigger problem. That's a bigger issue. His thing is, oh, how are you saying that they cause the problem? I never said they cause the problem. I'm saying that they are a problem that we have to also recognize. That is completely different things. And when you debate Pan Africanists, they always use that straw man argument that you're trying to blame all of the diaspora. We're not trying to put all of that on the diaspora, but we are acknowledging the fault of the diaspora. And every time you try to acknowledge the fault of the diaspora, they bring it up to straw man arguments. They make it seem like you're blaming all of them. Okay, so that's the tactic that he's using, which is very disingenuous.
Degeneracy in rap lyrics. I think we can agree on that, right? I tell when my daughter wants to be a B girl, well, she is a B girl. Let me not say once. She's gonna watch this and jump up, right? And I told my daughter, you need to know that there's a difference between rap and hip hop, right? And KRS-One put it best. He stated, rappers spit rhymes that are mostly illegal. MCs spit rhymes to uplift their people, right? And we know that hip hop is a subculture of African American culture that is focused around 5 key areas, right? We're talking about DJing, MCing, B-boying, B-girling, the dance. Then of course we're talking about, the clothing as well, right? So there's 5 core aspects of hip hop. I would agree with that. However, the only issue I have, and I don't listen to it at all. I can't listen to it. I don't let my kids listen to it. But that type of music being made was already taking place within our community. And I would argue, and this is the argument I always make, that when Black people were actually controlling hip hop, we saw that there was levels of Afrocentrism, Black consciousness, promoting education. Even the image of Black women was promoted as something that you had to respect Black women. Black women were critically conscious, right? This is why Queen Latifah had a song, UNITY, who you calling a bitch? So we know that, right? However, unfortunately, when white people saw that you can make money off of this is when we went from fight the power to gin and juice.
Now, right? Now to be honest, in this point, I do agree. You know, when the recessive people, when they started getting mixed into our culture and started controlling our music, that's when the music kind of went to the downfall. I agree with that point. I'm not seeing the connection at all between the point I made and the point he's making. These are 2 completely different conversations.
And these are historical facts. I actually had to take a class during my undergraduate career on African American music, and we learned these type of things. Even the rapper Jadakiss.
Now, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, actually. So I don't agree with everything he says, but let me fast forward a little bit. Okay. It's not that big of a difference. Okay.
So who came up with the term foundation?
Now, okay, hold on.
Nothing. So it has to go. So it has to go beyond the rhetoric to actual action.
Okay, and we can agree on that part.
And the action needs to be substantial. You're being a race trader. You're not working to the benefit of our community. So we're not going to reelect. And here's the bigger issue. And Dr. Amos Wilson talks about this in his book, Blueprint for Black Power. He says and African Americans as well. And so what I'm saying is that we have to do the same for both.
And here's the thing. I agree that there are FBA people who are going against reparations as well too. I've never, in this whole conversation, we've been talking for over 2 hours, I've never said that FBA are perfect. I've never said that FBA don't go against the grain or anything like that, or that we don't have our coons and sellouts within the community. My argument is that it is a higher offense. It's a worse offense. It's more egregious when you are coming to another person's country, when you are coming
I'm not going to get into feelings because you can't.
No. It's not about feelings. This is just the way every single country does that.
You can't legislate the feelings based on how.
No, it's not about because the thing is that when we say, and this is, and I feel like maybe you're doing this accidentally, but I feel like you're being disingenuous with this. When we say, now you see how I respectfully threw that in there, That was me being, I did that on purpose. I used those words very deliberately. I gave him the benefit of the doubt and I said, oh, maybe you're doing this accidentally, but you're being disingenuous. Instead of me saying that, oh, you know what, you just straight up being bogus. I said, hey, you might be doing this on accident, giving you a little bit of room to save face, but you're being disingenuous. I'm still being respectful despite him not letting me pretty much talk whatsoever. But let's continue. You have people from the diaspora coming over here and they are harming the community. We say you would make the argument, okay, where are they? What are they doing? Where are they?
I haven't seen it. And I travel the country,
sir. And then when we say, okay, they're right over there, they're talking against reparations, that is harmful for the community. They're over there, they're saying all lives matter, that's harmful for the community. They're over there, they're saying we should pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, that's harmful for the community. They're over there, they're doing things degenerate, that's harmful for the community. They're over there, they're selling drugs, that's harmful for the community. They're over there, they're getting into politics, and they're elevating buffer classes and white people above black people, that's harmful for the community. And then you in retort would make the whataboutism argument. Well, they do that as well. What about them? And the thing is that you make that argument as if our argument was saying that FBA don't do that. Our argument is not saying that FBA does not do that. Our argument is saying that we also have to acknowledge the fact that there are other people coming over here that does that as well. And that needs to be addressed.
Okay, well, you didn't answer my question about the buffer classes. Like you said that. So what was your
question? Now, he completely skipped my point. My point, the whole point I just made, been completely skipped. My point wasn't the fact that FBA are perfect beings living on the face of the earth and that immigrants are the problem. My point is the fact that we do have to acknowledge the fact that there are immigrants who are the problem. Who cause a problem. And he completely dismisses that and says, well, where are the buffer classes? Okay.
Immigrants are coming here and trying to create buffer classes?
No, I said when they get into politics and they elevate the buffer classes, like the Asians, the Hispanics, and I'm crediting that to Barack Obama, who's non-FBA, and Kamala Harris, who's non-FBA.
Well, that's been going on in America long before they got in office.
But see, and that's the thing. That's the whataboutism. Sir, I'm saying that's the whataboutism argument.
You're crediting it to them, and what I'm saying is the credit doesn't go to them because it's been going on for a
long
time.
I didn't say they started it, but they do.
You say credited. That's what it means.
No, sir. When I say credited, I'm meaning for the fact that when I made the argument that there are people who come over here, get into politics, and that they elevate the buffer classes, I'm referring to Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. That's what I mean by that.
Okay. And there are also other politicians who do the same thing.
That's the whataboutism argument, sir.
Because what I'm saying is, then you need to address everyone who's doing that.
And I do. And here's the thing. This is the flaw that we have when it comes to Black First versus Pan Africanism. This is the flaw that we have because Pan Africanists are very narrow-minded, and I'm not. This is not an insult to you at all. This is not an insult to you at all. But I'm saying Pan-Africanists. They are only focused on the fact that we address the Africans who are off code and the Africans who go against the grain, and they do not address the fact that we have and we continue to address the fact that a lot of other non-African, non-Black people are harming Black people as well too. We can make spaces, we can make documentaries, we can do protests against the Hispanics, and then it's like this.
It's not.
Here's the thing.
So how could you give me a definition of what Pan-Africanism is?
That we can go against
global in nature, not narrow.
We can go against Hispanics for a whole month, and then the next week after the month is over, then when we address somebody from the diaspora, then it's like, oh my God, all you guys are talking about is Africans from the diaspora. That's all you see. That's a straw man argument, sir. You're making an argument based off of things that we are not making. You're making statements based off, or you're reframing our argument, our ideology based off of things that we are not doing and we are not saying.
FBA people 100% based off what they said.
No, sir, you can't say that.
100%. FBA people are the ones.
Now you see how I say, look, when he was all like, oh, who does it? Who doesn't? I'm all like, okay, for instance, Barack Obama, he's not an FBA. Kamala Harris, she's not an FBA. And he's like, well, there's FBA who do it too. Dude, you are missing the point a damn again. Nobody is saying all FBA are perfect and the only flaws come from Kenya and Jamaica. That is not what we're saying. His argument is that he doesn't see it. And I played that clip. He says he does not see it. And then when I point out the people who do it, he says, okay, well, you guys do it too. Dude, you just said you don't see it. And then when I point that out, you say, okay, well, that doesn't count because we do it too. That's not how that works. And you see, he's still not letting me talk, pretty much for the most part. Who are FBA people? Because you're talking to an FBA person right now, and that's not something I've said.
That's not something you said, but I named the ones that did.
Okay, so what if they say
that were saying were historically accurate?
One individual or two individuals don't represent FBA.
Well, I'm quoting the progenitor of the concept. The guy who created
no, he's not the progenitor of the concept. Tariq Nasheed is not
Foundation of Black Americans. So who came up with the term Foundation of Black Americans?
Now he coined the term Foundation of Black Americans.
That means he came up with it.
No, you're saying the concept. He did not come up with the concept.
Just like Henry Sylvester Williams coined the term Pan Africanism. He's the one who came up with it.
First off, coining a term and coming up with a concept to that thing is not the same thing. Because people, you had Dr. Claude Anderson, and he was referring to us as Native Black Americans, our own specific lineage, way before Tariq Nasheed did it. So Tariq Nasheed came up with the term, and yes, I agree with that, but he did not create the concept of us being our own specific lineage. That's been around longer than Tariq Nasheed's word for Pan Africanism.
What do you mean?
But my thing is not Pan Africanism. I meant FBA. But yeah, that's the thing. When people are like, well, Tariq Nasheed, he created FBA. He created FBA. Tariq Nasheed did not create FBA. He coined the term Foundational Black American. He coined that term, and we give him credit for that. But the concept that we are our own unique lineage, we are our own unique ethnicity of people, that existed. People have been saying that decades before Tariq coined the term FBA. Dr. Claude Anderson has been saying that decades before then, and then people even before him. So the concept of FBA isn't a new thing. That's not new whatsoever. My thing is this, is that you have Black people all around the world who do things that aren't against or that are against Black empowerment. And that's wrong. And it doesn't matter what type of Black person does it. It doesn't matter if they're FBA, if they're Nigerian, if they're Jamaican. It doesn't matter what type of people do it. If they go against Black empowerment, they are wrong.
It's a problem. That's right.
Now, yes, and we fully agree with that. The thing is that when you come to a land of another person, you have to acknowledge when you come to a land of a native person, then
I'm not native to America.
Yes, we are, sir.
No, we're not. We were blocked.
Malcolm X. Now we're getting into we're native to this land. Okay. He said, I'm not native to America. I say, yes, we are. That we are native to this land.
But and that's when Malcolm X was in the Nation of Islam, when he was parroting everything that Elijah Muhammad told him. Malcolm X.
So you're saying that there were no Black people on this land at all?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Okay, so then we are
However,
native.
the majority of Black people in America came from the African continent.
That's okay. What percent of the slave trade actually landed in North America?
4%.
Some would argue 3%.
It was 4%.
People would argue. Okay,
I would know. I had to take a class on this. I had to take.
Look, here he goes with this damn class. I hate debating people like this. I'm gonna be honest, because people are 3 to 5%, 3%, exactly. 3%. And you're right. It's debatable. He says 4%. I say, well, some people say 3%. And he corrects, oh no, it's 4% specifically. Dude, I had to take a class. Dude, I do not like debating people like that. That's that boule elitism type thing. Well, I know better than you. I know I took a class in 1976 about, like, dude. Yeah, pluck his class. Damn his damn class. Clearly his class didn't teach him that much. I cannot stand when people, and it's only 1% difference, which is why I left it alone. Okay, because it's debatable, somewhere between 3% and 5%. So if you say it's 4%, okay. If I say it's 5%, okay. Your evidence isn't more correct than my evidence because the experts who say it's between 3 to 5%. Okay, but you can kind of tell his mentality. I took a class, I did an essay, I did a book report, I have a book, I read a book. Like, damn, nigga. I've done classes on it as well too. But okay, 4 and 3% is not that big of a difference. It's not that big of a difference. Okay, it's not that big of a difference. But if you are arguing that there were black people already here, then what gives you the argument that most of the black people, and even if they were,
all right, so great.
Let's go with the argument. Let's go with the argument. Let's go with the argument that all black people came. Let's just go for the second argument. Let's go with the concept that all black people came from Africa. When we came to this land, based off of what the history says, it was in 1619, right?
Well, actually, no. There's literature that shows that many African Americans came initially via the Caribbean in the 16th century, the 1500s.
Well, and to be honest, if we're going to be honest, there were black people living in this land since 1526.
Well, some people even argue,
and that's been historically documented. That there were
actually further than that, because actually, if you know anything about Mansa Musa, who's considered historically to be the richest man in the world, he was the emperor of the Mali Empire. His older brother, abdicated the throne in the 14th century. We're talking about the 1300s to take a armada and travel to what is now known as the Western world.
Okay, so you're admitting that we were here.
Well, what I'm saying is there were black people here before. However, the devil's in the details, right? So just because there were black people here before, doesn't mean that you could then claim that you were part of the people that were here before. You would have to trace your lineage.
Okay, let's say this though. Say
this is a reality. You just
can't trace our lineage. Here's the thing. Here's the thing though. Let's say that you might not even be able to. You can argue it's difficult to trace your lineage of whether you were here before the transatlantic slave trade or you were here prior to the transatlantic slave trade. If your family members were here prior, but the thing is, hold on, my argument is America, the country. The United States of America, that wasn't a country until 1776. Right. So that means every black person here who were here on this land building the country prior to America becoming a country are aboriginal to the country by definition.
Aboriginal. No, it's not. That's not.
What does that mean, sir?
But the second issue is this.
What does that mean? Can you answer the question, though?
Hold on. Let me make my point. The only thing foundational about America is anti-blackness and settler colonialism. That's what's foundational to America. That's what's foundational about America. Settler colonialism, white supremacy, and anti-blackness.
That's not answering the question.
Right. The second issue.
Notice I'm just chilling at this point. I'm just like I don't even give a damn. Like I'm just like okay, whatever. He's talking. Because I'm all like, okay, what does aboriginal mean? Well, the thing is that America was founded on racism and white supremacy and the white man being in more power than the black man is. And the thing is that it was founded off of capital. I'm like, dude, that has nothing to do with what I just asked. I took a sip and I'm leaning back. If my chair reclines, my chair doesn't recline that much. But if my chair reclines, I'm just, okay, all right. No, at this point, I mean, there's nothing I can do. I'm just like, there you go. That's not bringing up anything. Oh, all right, whatever. That completely does not answer the question. But okay. Now he continues to make the argument that we're not Aboriginal, which is another thing that a lot of Pan Africanists make. Oh, everybody can't. And see, this is the issue. Let me pause it again. This is a big issue with Pan Africanism because it all centers around Africa, as if all black people recently came from Africa. We all have the same race. This is the difference between being black first and being Pan-Africanist, because we are centering the progression of the race. Pan-Africanism is Wakandicizing Africa, and it's like, oh my God, everybody came from Africa. We all come from Africa. Africa, 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 Africa. That is Pan-Africanism. And we're not doing that anymore, because as foundational Black Americans, when we were Wakandicizing Africa, when we were big upping Africa, we were doing everything for the continent. We were fighting to end qualified immunity. We were fighting to end some of those things. Not was it qualified immunity? The issues going on in South Africa, I mean. Okay, we were fighting to what's that one place? Ethiopia. We were trying to fight against the Italians when they went to invade Ethiopia, which is one of the main reasons why Ethiopia was not colonized. That was us who was fighting for Africa, because we had the mentality, Africa, 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 Africa. Oh my God, Africa is just Wakanda. We are the ones who made that concept. When Eddie Murphy, when he would make his movies, remember the Coming to America and everything, we were the people, foundational Black Americans, we were the people who were big upping Africa. We were the people who made Africa seem like it was paradise on earth. That was us who was doing that. Okay. And the Africans, they got the sweet end of the deal, because they don't have to do anything, because it's not reciprocal. They're like, hey, I'm from Africa, so it's almost like I'm just automatic royalty. And they look at us like that. That's why a lot of them look at us like we are less than them. I am from Africa. I am from the motherland, and you cannot tell me anything. Okay, I'm better than you. You do not know where you come from. I know where I come from. I come from Nigeria. I come from the well over there. You do not know anything. You Akata nigga. That is what they do. So we're stripping the whole Africa is just so great. It's just the best thing ever. We're not on that anymore. And no disrespect to Africa at all. Africa is a great continent, much resources, great people, but Africa's not paradise on earth. Africa is not Wakanda. And that's the issue with Pan-Africanism. They try to make it seem like Africa is this Wakanda and every Black person came from Africa. It's not. You said I got the African accent down pat. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, he don't know what he's talking about. Clearly. But let me finish, because we almost at the end. Let me get to this. Oh damn, that's if they're Nigerian.
Right. The second issue is I would never. My goal is Black empowerment. I could give a damn about America. America doesn't give a damn about Black people, so why would I give a damn about America?
You're dodging the question.
Seriously.
Okay.
So no, I mean, the question was what? What?
Can you answer the question though?
Hold on. Let me make my point.
Now hold on.
The only thing foundational.
I want y'all. I wish y'all could pay very close attention to my facial expressions and how I say, okay, what does Aboriginal mean? And then he goes on this completely left-hand spiel about how he doesn't like America.
People here before. However, the devil's in the details, right? So just because there were Black people here before, it doesn't mean that you could then claim that you were part of the people that were here before. You would have to trace your lineage.
Okay, let's say this though. Say
this is a reality. You just
can't trace our lineage. Here's the thing. Here's the thing though. Let's say that you might not even be able to. You can argue it's difficult to trace your lineage of whether you were here before the transatlantic slave trade or you were here prior to the transatlantic slave trade. If your family members were here prior, but the thing is, hold on, my argument is America, the country. The United States of America, that wasn't a country until 1776. Right. So that means every Black person here who were here on this land building the country prior to America becoming a country are Aboriginal to the country by definition.
Aboriginal. No, it's not. That's not.
What does that mean, sir?
But the second issue.
I said, what does that mean? Now, look how long it takes him to address that point.
Is this?
What does that mean? Can you answer the question, though?
Hold on. Let me make my point.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing foundational about America is anti-Blackness and settler colonialism. That's what's foundational to America. That's what's foundational about America. Settler colonialism, white supremacy, and anti-Blackness.
That's not answering the question.
Right. The second issue is I would never. My goal is black empowerment. I could give a damn about America. America doesn't give a damn about black people, so why would I give a damn about America?
You're dodging the question.
Seriously.
Okay.
So no, I mean, the question was what? What is Aboriginal?
No, the question was, if the origin of the United States of America was on July 4th, 1776. So that means July 3rd, 1776, it was not America. And then July 4th, it was America. That means the people who are here prior to it being America are native or aboriginal to America, by definition of what those words mean.
If that's what you want. But once again,
no, I mean, I'm talking about the dictionary, the English language.
Right. And what I'm stating is this. There's an actual African proverb that states that what? A log can stay in a river for an inordinate amount of time. It's never going to make it a crocodile. Right. So the reality of the situation is you have groups of people who...
Did y'all see that completely confused the hell out of me. I'm going to zoom into my facial expression so you can see how confused I was when he said that statement. I had no idea why he said that. Hold on. Let me take that back. Hold on. I got to zoom in because you guys got it. Like, you can see I'm like visually confused by that. Look at it. It's not America. And then July 4th, it was America. That means the people who are here prior to it being America are native or aboriginal to America, by definition of what those words mean.
If that's what you want. But once again,
no, I mean, I'm talking about the dictionary, the English language.
Right. And what I'm stating is this. There's an actual African proverb that states that what? A log can stay in a river for an inordinate amount of time. It's never going to make it a crocodile. Right. So the reality of the situation is you have groups of people who leave their homeland for tens of thousands of years, right?
I'm trying so hard not to laugh.
For a significant amount of time, but they still hold on to their history, heritage, and culture and who they are. The other issue for me is this.
Like I was trying hard as hell not to. I'm like, he just said it, and I'm just confused as hell. I'm like, I'm okay. All right. Never heard that before. Never heard of that term before. I'm gonna use it now. I gotta take it from him. A lot, you know how old people sometimes when they just give you advice, it just seems like they just coming up with some term they heard before, and it don't make no sense. Let's say I'm a grandpa or something, and I got my grandkids coming to me, Grandpa, they messing with me in school, they picking on me. I'm gonna say, sit down, son. Son, let me tell you something. A log can stay in the river for however long he wants to, but that log will never be a crocodile. And I just want to do it to confuse. I'm gonna use it. And can just y'all try that. Just when somebody makes a point out to you, being all like, you know what, a log can stay in the river, but however long it stays in the river doesn't make it a crocodile. And then just leave it like that. Watch how confused they get. They can be like, okay. They would. I had no idea why he said that or where that came from. I just like, okay. I'm like, all right, okay, all right. I guess it's true. I mean, that is true. A log is never going to be a crocodile. Have no idea what that means. Okay, but okay. I had no idea where he was going with that. I've never heard of that term. Oh, man.
And I think this is what is most important, right? And as I stated before, for me, right, as a Black person, as a person of African descent, I am very proud of my heritage as a person who comes from a lineage of the people who were the fathers and mothers of humanity and human civilization. That's where my lineage goes to. My lineage goes to what? Us building what? The greatest civilization of antiquity. My lineage goes to us being what? The wealthiest place in the world during the medieval times, in which what the book trade was more lucrative than the gold trade in West Africa. That's where my lineage goes to. My lineage did not start right here in the Western world. My lineage started, of course, as one of the fathers and mothers the fathers and mothers of humanity and human civilization.
Can you trace your lineage to that?
Actually, I did.
Okay, well that's great. That's wonderful. But the thing is that I look at lineage and I tie it with the fact that our culture had to restart pretty much during slavery.
The argument that many people make and say, well, I'm Aboriginal, once again, but you haven't traced your lineage. So, okay, you're making claims, but you haven't traced your lineage.
But the thing is, if you can trace your lineage prior to...
Now, here's the issue I have with that. When you make the argument, I'm Aboriginal, they go out of their way to say, oh, you got to trace your lineage. You got to trace your lineage. I want to see it right now. Pull it out your pocket right now. I want all the documentation right now, right this second. You're lying. You're a liar. You didn't trace your lineage. Now, when you say, oh, I trace my lineage all the way back to this country in Africa, that doesn't get questioned at all. Not at all. If you say I trace my lineage and I found out that I'm actually native to this country, you're a liar, you don't know what you're talking about, you're lying. If you say I trace my lineage back to Africa, that's never questioned. How do I even know that he traced his lineage back to Africa? You don't have to prove that, but you got to prove that you trace your lineage back to your native ancestry. 1776, then you can argue that you are Aboriginal. Okay, let me ask you a question because you never answered it. You never answered the question. You never answered the question. What does Aboriginal mean? What does Aboriginal mean?
The term Aboriginal means is the term of people who were living in a land prior to the arrival of colonialists.
Okay. The term Aboriginal, can we look this up in the dictionary?
Yes, I just looked it up. That's what it means.
Okay.
I can put it up right now.
Okay, let me look it up. Okay. Aboriginal.
If you want me to.
Okay. If you can actually show it on the Jumbotron too.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to do that.
Well, not the Jumbotron. I'm used to
right. I know what you mean. It's all good. Hold on. Let me put it up this way.
Twitter Spaces got me messed up. Twitter Spaces got me messed up. I'm on YouTube and I'm all like, put it on the Jumbotron. That's how messed up Twitter Spaces got me. I'm traumatized. I'm like, can you show that on the Jumbotron? Twitter, man, what are y'all doing to me?
Pull up another. All right, here we go. Boom. Oh, yeah. Okay, now let me get to it. Share screen. Home tab. Bow. Boom. So there you go. Right there. Aboriginal, inhabiting or existing in the land from earliest signs or from before the arrival of colonialists.
Okay.
This
is what I'm saying. No, sir, because you read the definition that you wanted to read. That's the definition. Show it one more time. Show it one more time. Show the same definition one more time.
See, I would, and I'm gonna show you what I did in a second.
Okay, inhabiting or existing in a land from its earliest times or before. The thing is that or means that it has multiple definitions. Or means either or means that there is more than one.
Okay. Once again, the claim that this is the
and
issue.
You see, he flies straight past that, and I did that on purpose. Okay, I did that on purpose. Okay, because when he brought up the definition, I know what the definition of Aboriginal means, and I know that we do qualify for Aboriginal based off of the definition and meaning of Aboriginal. I know that. Okay, so he says, whoop-de-whoop, and then he was like, yeah, that's what Aboriginal, and he shuts the definition off real quick. He reads it and then bam, he shuts it off. And I'm like, no, bring that back up, because the word or, and this is why words are very important, the word or gives the implication that two things are Aboriginal. There are two different definitions to the word Aboriginal. You pick the definition that you wanted and say, see, that's Aboriginal right there. Let me shut it off. I'm like, no, I caught that real quick. I'm like, nope, bring that right back. Put it up and let me read it. Because you can't speed read it then shut it off. Let me read that to everybody. Look, Aboriginal, before. If you are a native to the land, if you are inhabitants of the land before, okay,
we were on what is called, what we now know as the United States of America, before the United States became the United States. That means that the people, the black people, were here prior to the Americas being built. We did not come to America. And as a matter of fact, the numbers, and you can look this up, most of the slavery and the shipments of all of that stuff really reached its peak of like around the 1780s. Like right after America got its independence, slavery started to kind of go on a decline. Since then, the shipment of slavery went on a decline since then, after that point. So that means most of the slaves were coming here prior to the American Revolution. If you take American Revolution and you put that at the halfway mark from 1619 and then 1865, and then you put 1776 as the halfway mark, majority of the slaves came here during that time. That was like the majority of the slaves. After that, it was a decline in the slaves coming here from Africa. Okay, so that's just some history that's very important for us to keep in mind. Exactly. When Christopher Columbus got off the ships with his goons, FBA was already here. They tore down our stuff and robbed people and forced us to build what they call America today. Exactly. Thank you very much, DSB, for that statement. That's very correct. Let's continue.
People are claiming to be Aboriginal, but they haven't traced their lineage to know if they actually are Aboriginal.
And I would disagree with that. You should, before you claim to be Aboriginal, you should trace your lineage.
Yes.
To state. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Well, that shouldn't be an argument. You should definitely.
But people do it all the time.
How do you know that?
Tariq Nasheed does it.
How do you know Tariq Nasheed has not traced his? Hold on. How do you know that Tariq Nasheed has not traced his lineage to that?
Well, I'm gonna tell you why. I'm about to break it down. Okay, I'm gonna break it down.
Now, mind you, he made an absolute statement that Tariq Nasheed has not traced his lineage back. That was his statement. Oh, Tariq Nasheed is lying about him being Aboriginal. He hasn't traced his lineage back. And I'm all like, okay, well, how do you know Tariq is lying about that? Hold on, I'm fixing my microphone. And then this is what he has to say.
Went from one with melanated people, then he was saying that we were Moors. This is what he was saying in Hidden Colors 1, that we were Moors. And here's the issue that I have with the term Moor. Being a Moor, for some people designated being Moor as black, but being a Moor was a political designation, not a racial one. So you had Moors who were blacks, you had Moors who were Arabs, you had Moors who were Berbers, you had Moors who were white Europeans, right? You can Google these things and find this out. Then it was what? Went from Moors to what? We were what? Melanated people. Then we were Aboriginals. And he was saying we were Native Americans. So it just bounces all over the place. I mean, you even had the same thing with the Nation of Islam, where 1 minute you're the tribe of Shabazz, which is something they completely made up. There was no such thing as a tribe of Shabazz anywhere in the world. Then they say you're the true children of Israel. Then they say what you're Aboriginal or Native to America. So which one is it?
Okay,
like
sir,
whatever is convenient at the time, that's the claim that people make.
I asked you how, because I asked you, you said in order to claim that you're Aboriginal, you should be able to trace your lineage back. Yeah. And you said Tariq Nasheed hasn't done that. And I asked you, how do you know that Tariq Nasheed has not traced his lineage back to?
Well, I would make the argument that I don't believe he's traced his lineage.
Now he backtracks. Okay. Now then he backtracks. He says he didn't. Now he's saying he doesn't believe so. He doesn't think so. So he's backtracking. But let's continue.
Every seemingly 2 years, he comes up with a different concept of term of what his lineage is. That's why I would make the argument.
Tariq Nasheed has stated that his lineage isn't Aboriginal, because I remember in the first Hidden Colors. And this is years ago. This is over a decade ago. Tariq Nasheed did state that we are as Foundation Black Americans, even though he didn't have that term back then. But he's been stating for years that we've been Aboriginal. So when has Tariq stated that we were not Aboriginal?
Well, I just told you, and Tariq in Hidden Colors 1, he was stating that that black people were Moors.
Well, but the thing is that black people were Moors. Tariq is not the only person to say that either. That, I mean, even he admits that there were black Moors. And if he makes the argument that there were Moors who were not black, okay, but that doesn't mean that black people were not Moors. The thing is as Nikki the God said, we are a mixture of all of those things. The issue is that when it comes to us talking about foundational Black American culture, they make it seem like we only have to be one single thing. I never said that the slave trade didn't happen. I personally have never made that statement. I've made videos against that. I say that the slave trade did happen, but there were also many black people here prior to the slave trade. There were black people here prior because they were aboriginals here from the very beginning, and then there were black Moors here, and that was documented in 1526 when the Spanish brought Moors over here, and then the Europeans left. Or died off. So all of those black people are a mixture of what we are today. All of that stuff is historically accurate. That does not mean, first off,
You can't be both.
let's
Moors
clear
came from
let's
Africa.
clear this up. Let's clear this up. Tariq Nasheed saying that black people were Moors is not him saying that we are not Aboriginal.
You can't be both. Moors come from Africa.
Okay.
You can't be both. That's like me saying I'm from Brazil.
With that argument, sir, everybody in the world comes from Africa. If you want to make that argument,
oh my God.
If you want to make that argument, where did the natives come from?
That's not.
What I'm saying is
you're being disingenuous.
There were more. See, now he's going with the disingenuous. You're being disingenuous. Every time I catch him up, oh, you're being disingenuous. Here you go, being disingenuous again. No. We are mixed with Moors. We are mixed with people from the motherland, Africa. Yes, that is true. And Tariq says that multiple times. We do have African mixture in our DNA. But we also have native mixture in our DNA too. It is not one or the other. He keeps making it seem, and that's the Pan Africanism Wakandicizing of Africa. Everything comes from Africa. We all come from Africa. Our soul is connected to Africa. No, that's just not the case. We are more native here than we are African. That is that's a historical and scientific even fact. Okay. For him to say, oh, Moors came from Africa. Dude, like, okay, well, Neanderthals, you can trace their lineage back to Africa. If you want to go back that far, everybody came from Africa. And that's why I said you can, if you're going to reach that far, you can literally make the argument that everyone in the world is African. You can literally make that argument. Well, life start right there. Everybody's pretty much African. You can literally make that argument. Now watch how I say that though. Moors here, and this is historical based. There's documents to prove this up. There were Moors here. There's been Moors here since 1526. There have been black people here since there were people on this land that we know as the United States of America now. And then there were black people who were brought here during the Middle Passage, during this transatlantic slave trade. These black people were all stripped of everything. We're all qualified as you are all Negro slaves. You are all one group of people. So to say that, okay, we came from Africa, that's not incorrect, but you can also, like you said earlier in this conversation, multiple things can be true at the same time. We can also have lineage and ancestry that is tied to the Middle Passage, and we can have lineage and ancestry that is tied to people who are native to this land.
And I would say this in the work that I've done, most black people who seek to claim that they're Aboriginal or Native American, etc., are engaging in a pseudo scientific form of self-abnegation in which they're trying to distance themselves from their African heritage. This is in the work. Hold on, in the work that I've done, right? Okay. Particularly if you ever get a chance to study Black psychology, you find this. We even find this even going back on the continent where many black people who would adopt a Muslim faith would then try to claim that their lineage isn't in West Africa. It actually comes from the East, and they're talking about Mecca and Arabia, Saudi Arabia, so on and so forth, and trying to have somehow, some way, shape, or form, a closer relationship with, of course, the Prophet Muhammad. And Dr. Ali Mazuri even talks about this in his book, The Triple Heritage. So this is something that Black people have been doing for a long time. The other issue is that, once again, the overwhelming majority, unfortunately, of Black people in the Western world came here as a result of the transatlantic slave trade.
Okay, and the thing is that when you state that as a fact, you're stating that as an absolute fact, not an opinion, not your hypothesis. You're stating that as a fact. So my thing is, if we know that but based off of what you're saying, 4% of all of the slaves, based off the entire time frame of the slave trade, only 4% of those slaves actually landed in the North American continent. How are you going to make the argument that a solid majority of the Black people who built the country are those 4%? Are only those 4%? And mind you, those 4% didn't arrive at one time.
I know that it was a constant.
Going back in those 4% was during the entire time frame. Yes, so my thing is, what numbers do you have? Because if you're saying it as an absolute, sir, what numbers do you have to state? Hold on, I didn't finish the question. What numbers do you have to state that that 4% is greater than the Aboriginal Black people who are here prior? Is a solid majority greater?
Right. Of the 15 million Africans, that was so in the study, when scholars study the transatlantic slave trade, the general number that is accepted in the academy in scholarship is 15 million Africans being ruthlessly exported from Africa and brought to the Western world. Of those 15 million, there's 4% is the number that is agreed upon, right? Of that 4% of 15 million.
I hear 3% as well too, but okay.
4% of that 15
we'll
million,
go with 4% for the argument.
4% of that 15 million equates to roughly about 500,000 people. Yes, about 500,000. In fact, if you actually look at some census numbers from, of course, the mid 1800s, particularly about 1860, there was about 400 to 500,000 African Americans, of course, in America. Of course, the majority of us were living in what is known as the southeastern United States.
Okay.
So, and Nikki, you actually make a good point. How does he know I didn't study Black psychology? He keeps saying this stuff, and it's coming off very condescending. I'm not really acknowledging it for the sake of keeping things civil, but every time he says stuff like that, it's coming off, oh, I know you don't know. I studied, you didn't study. You're guessing as pseudoscience. I know things that you don't know because I read a book. It's coming off very condescending. Just because I have a difference of opinion means that he's educated and I'm uneducated.
But the point I'm making,
and a lot of the things, when I say a lot of your facts are not absolute, a lot of your facts are very arguable, he has to actually piggyback and he has to kind of tone down, because the thing is that if I didn't know, I wouldn't be able to retort his facts. I'm retorting his facts because I know that his stance isn't solidified as absolute history. There's arguments against it.
Once again,
but how many were here prior?
Once again, the point that I'm making is, if a person is going to make that claim, they have to be able to substantiate it. That's like me saying I'm Jewish. I need to be able to prove through my lineage that I'm Jewish. I can't just say it just because there were Jewish people living there.
And then here's the thing. But we don't have to do that with Africa. I want you to keep that in mind. If you take something from this, take this. When Black American, a foundational Black American, when we say, oh, I trace my lineage back to Africa, that is never ever questioned. Nobody ever suspects you of lying. But if you say I trace my lineage to a Native American culture or tribe, then, oh, well, you got to prove that. That sounds like pseudoscience to me. If it's the case where you have to trace your lineage to prove if you're Native, you should have to trace your lineage to prove that you're from Africa. Why do we not have to trace our lineage to prove that we're from Africa? If we say that's just automatically believe that we're all from Africa, but you have to trace your lineage to prove that you've been here before 1776. If you have to trace your lineage, you have to do it on both sides.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Okay,
if you're going to make a claim that you are a certain lineage, you must.
And I'm saying he's dodging the question again.
Substantiate it.
Okay, and how are you saying that we do not substantiate it?
Because no one's tracing their lineage.
And how do you know that no one is tracing their lineage, sir?
I haven't met one person in my entire life who has claimed to be Aboriginal that had traced their lineage. I'm waiting to meet one.
Well, that's anecdotal, sir.
I know it is. Very anecdotal. It's based on my lived experience, but I've never heard or seen of one. Now, what I do know, I've met some Black people who had Native American and they were part Native American and they had traced their lineage, and they was able to find, and they was able to prove that through tracing their lineage that they were part Native American, part Cherokee, part Miami, or part Seminole. I've met people who've done that.
Okay.
But I've never met anyone or even read of anyone claiming to be Aboriginal and been able to document their lineage as being Aboriginal.
And here's what I don't like too when it comes to the Aboriginal, and I've made this in multiple YouTube videos before. Dude, Native Americans don't even have to prove that they're Aboriginal. It's Black people. And the thing is, I'm not saying we're 100% without a shadow of a doubt purely Aboriginal. Of course, there's a lot of admixture in there. There's a lot of mixture in there. That's the whole concept of foundational Black Americans. We acknowledge the fact that we're mixed with the African slaves who were brought here. We're mixed with the Aboriginals who were here before. We're mixed with the Moorish people who've been here since 1526. We acknowledge all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that we're not, you can acknowledge all of it at the same time. He said, well, you have to prove that you're Native Americans. You got $5 Indians who don't have to prove that they're Native American. Can they trace? Because in order for you to, as Native Americans, in order for you to claim you're Native American, you would really, really have to prove that you were here prior to 16 and 19, really. And they don't got to prove nothing. They don't have to prove anything, and they automatically get believed. Most of these quote-unquote Native Americans are not even Native Americans, and they don't have to prove anything. But as Black people, you got to go to the damn beginning of time to prove that you're Native American here. As FBA people, I mean. Okay, sir.
That's the claim that I'm making.
Okay, sir. And let's go back to the original argument. If this country did not exist, if the United States of America, and we're talking about history, and like I said in the very first argument that I made in this whole debate, it was that terms are very important. Terms matter. If this country did not exist prior to July 4th, 1776, that means the people who are here prior to July 4th, 1776 are Aboriginal based off of the definition that you showed to the country. So that means that even now you just made the argument.
It says prior to the colonialist arrival. So colonialist arrival.
It says or. It's or. Not and or are very different words.
Okay. Once again, what's your point? Nope. The people who are making this claim haven't traced their lineage. So how can you claim
you're making that statement as an absolute because you haven't seen it, sir. You can't do that. That's disingenuous.
Once again, do you claim to be Aboriginal?
Yes. I claim that I have Aboriginal ancestry. Yes. So and notice that that's a difference too. Notice that is a difference too. And he said, do you claim to be Aboriginal? I say, yes, I claim to have Aboriginal ancestry. I did not claim that I am 100% purebred Aboriginal. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that a part of my ancestry is Aboriginal to the country. Those are two completely different statements. Okay, those are very different statements. And that's the argument that most FBA make. We don't make the argument that we're 100% Aboriginal. Most of us don't. We make the argument that, we can trace our lineage back, to be honest, and a lot of us who have traced their lineage, they can't really even trace their lineage back to Africa. The people who are actually doing the extensive research, the FBA people, we're really not finding the connection to Africa like they keep saying that we would.
we're finding more so the connection to being aboriginal to the land if you actually have traced your ancestry, to be honest. But the thing is that we're not even making the argument that we're 100% native. We're making the argument that we do have native ancestry. It's scientifically, and I broke it down in another broadcast, it's scientifically impossible to say that we don't, to be honest. Okay? Considering how every black person was mixed together and considered Negroes in slavery. It's scientifically and historically inaccurate to say that we don't have any Native American ancestry.
Have you traced your lineage to substantiate that?
Yes, I have, actually.
You just said it that you didn't. You just said 20 minutes ago that you hadn't traced your lineage.
I didn't say that. I said I had. When did I say I had?
Yes, you did. 20 minutes ago, you said that you personally had not traced your lineage. That's what you said.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
So you.
When did I say I hadn't traced my lineage?
So you've traced your lineage to prove that you are Aboriginal.
Yes, sir. My family did it in 2017 when we went. Because my family is actually from the South. So my family during the family reunion, we all went down to the South, all the way back, and we all had a big family thing where we looked at our family tree and we all traced our family lineage all together. It was a beautiful thing, actually. So
right.
yes.
So how far back did it go?
Huh?
How far back did it go?
How far back did it go? On my father's side, it went back all the way to 18. It went all the way back to 18, either 24 or 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 1825, that's not Aboriginal.
Okay, well, where did the black people come from then?
Once again, you said Aboriginal is prior to 1776. 1825 is not prior to 1776.
Okay, so and this is him pretty much twisting my words right there. This is him twisting my word, because the thing is that to be Aboriginal, by the definition of what the word Aboriginal means, Aboriginal really means beginning. You were here prior to the country being a country. Okay. The country did not become a country until 1776. If you can trace your family lineage prior to 1776, then any black person at all, period, who was here prior to 1776 is technically Aboriginal to the United States of America. By definition, they are Aboriginal to the United States of America. And we did a Google search and proved that. Now, the thing is that, yeah, I was only able to trace, and the thing is, the farther back you go, the more difficult it can be to trace your lineage back. It becomes more difficult the farther back you go. Now, I was able to trace mine all the way back to the 1820s, like the mid 1820s. And he was like, okay, well, how can you prove you're Aboriginal? Well, the thing is that the importation of the slaves really stopped before the 18th century. Well, not stopped, but it really started to decrease prior to the 18th century. It reached its peak right around the time of the American Revolution. That's really when it reached its peak. Shortly after that, then it declined. So by the 1820s, slavery was already but the transportation of the slaves were already reaching a decline by the 1820s. It says English Overstreet. He says I'm from 1830 census so far. Okay, keep going. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive, brother. But the thing is that I can literally, all you have to do is trace it back that far, and you can make that argument that you have Aboriginal ancestry. Okay? Aboriginal ancestry, because there were Aboriginal people mixed in already before that. There's been Aboriginal people mixed in. So all of the slaves have some degree of mixture in it. Okay? The slavery, now keep in mind, if the United States started in 1776, July 4th, 1776. That means on July 3rd, 1776, there was no America. America started on the 4th. So that means any black person who was here on the 3rd is Aboriginal by definition. All you have to is not too many years apart for you to say, okay, it's incredibly likely if I can tie my lineage back to the 1820s, and there's only a 50-year, that's really only a 50-year gap. That's really about a 50-year gap between the 1776 and the 18, is less than 50 years, actually 1825. That's less than 50 years. All I have to do is say that I have ancestry, even if my people came straight off the boat at that point in time. If my ancestry landed in America in 1876, I mean in 1825, you can still make a strong argument that there was there were millions of black people here before then. They mixed in with the black people who came here in 1820. The years are too close to say that you can't tie your ancestry back to being Aboriginal. It's too close. It's literally too close for you to say that. And historians know that. And I did a breakdown on that. The further back you go, the more ties that you have to the land, the deeper your roots go. Okay. Because in let me see if I can show it to you guys. No, I'm probably not gonna be able to find it. We've been on here for a good minute, over 2 hours, and we in here deep. Please make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. But look, for instance, right? And I'm gonna bring this down, then we're gonna continue playing the video. You have 4 grandparents right now. You have 2 grandparents on your mother's side, 2 grandparents on your father's side. You have 8. Okay, you have 8 great grandparents. All right. That means each one of it doubles each time. So your grandmother, okay, you have 2 grandparents. Okay, let me take, I know I'm teaching this wrong. You have 4 grandparents. Okay. You got a grandpa and grandma on your dad's side, grandpa and grandma on your mom's side. Okay. Then they have grandparents. Then that doubles for them, because your grandpa has parents. Your grandma has parents. So it's double. You have 4 grandparents, and then you have 8 great grandparents. And then you have 16 great great grandparents. And then you have 32 great 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 grandparents. And then you have 64 great 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 grandparents. Like, and I'm not trying to confuse you with the greats, but the further back you go, the more grandparents you have. So it makes it difficult to trace your lineage, because you have all of this family all around the place. So you mean to tell me my great 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 grandparents, which could go all the way up into the hundreds, because the further back you go, it goes into the hundreds. You have hundreds of ancestors, hundreds of them. It's scientifically and completely illogical to say out of the hundreds of ancestors you have, none of them are Aboriginal to America. That literally makes no sense at all. Scientifically, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay, but let's continue. Your argument, though, based off of no, we got past this point. Okay, where did the slaves come from? We got past this point. Now, I kind of want to wrap it up with showing how this ends, showing kind of how the conversation ends. Let me take you back like the last 10 minutes.
The basis of Pan-Africanism, even to this day, is based on Black people, wherever you are in the world, working together. Those are people who are about that life, because not every Black person is about that life, but working to not only build political and economic power, because we know the basis of the issues we face isn't based on either not only a educational gap or even a wealth gap. It's based on a power gap. We are powerless to stop these nefarious anti-Black entities from doing harm to us in the multitude of ways that they actually do it, right? The second issue is that wherever you are, we also need to be building institutions to serve the needs of our people, so that we don't have to depend on the dominant society to provide the goods and services for us as a people. So one of the things we did in my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, West Side is the best side, right? And Dayton is an extremely racially segregated city, just like Chicago, is that West Dayton was a food desert. So guess what black folk did? Black folk got together and said, guess what? We're going to create a cooperative supermarket. And we did. It's called Gem City Market. So it's about building institutions to benefit our community. Not just rhetoric, because one of the things Dr. Amos Wilson studied was that what? Verbal militancy without action leads to what? Passive non-compliance, non-resistance to, of course, white supremacy.
Okay. And that is to putting your blackness first, right? Correct, right?
The black
okay,
race.
Let me ask you a question. Why use the term Pan Africanism? Why use that term instead of black first? If what you're describing is the same thing, and somebody asked a question. He says 32 great grandparents. Yes. Yeah, you literally do have that. It literally does go back that far. It doubles each time you say great, it doubles that far. Your grandparents are 4. Your great grandparents are 8. Okay, your great grandparents. Let me see. Grandparents are 4. Great grandparents are 8. Your great grandparents, the 3 greats, that's 16. 4 greats, that's 32. 5 greats, that's 64. So it doubles each and every single time. And I don't think that's a bad faith question, but yeah, it really does do that. It really does do that. Putting your blackness, your race first. Why use the term Pan-Africanism?
As I stated before, one, Pan-Africanism is the oldest black political ideology in the world, right? Secondly, because by name is advocating for the political, economic empowerment of black people throughout the world. That's what the term pan means. It means all.
Okay. But the thing is that all black people do not have that. So we need to go based off of things on an individual basis.
Right. No, because not even all black people. You want to say B1, not all black people have that.
Exactly. And that's
so
the thing. B1 specifies it encompasses a requirement to be B1.
And so does Pan-Africanism.
And the thing, if they're both the same thing, sir, and this is my argument, if they're both the same thing, why is there so much pushback about being black first?
One, I'm gonna tell you why. One, Pan-Africanism is the original.
No, and I'm gonna tell you why, because he's gonna try to tell you why, but I'm gonna tell you why. The reason why he likes to use the term Pan-Africanism is because he knows it's not black first. Pan-Africanism is not about blackness as a race. Pan-Africanism centers Africa. Okay, it centers black people being from Africa and everything about Africa. That's why Pan-Africanists do not like to talk about how we are aboriginal to this land. Okay, that's why he doesn't like to use the term black first. He's saying the black first ideology, and then he's saying, well, that's really Pan-Africanism. No, that is not Pan-Africanism.
It's a progenitor. B1 is a derivative. Number 2, the very
B1 is what should have been.
No,
black first is what it should have been.
B1 is that's what Pan-Africanism. That's what it's always been.
No, that's why I tell people.
The individuals who make this claim are individuals who are not knowledgeable of Pan-Africanism. Because there's no way someone could say something like that if they knew what Pan-Africanism was and know the history of it.
Sir,
once again, Pan-Africanism is an original, B1 is a derivative. As I stated before, there are several core tenets of Pan-Africanism, right? And one of the core tenets to make sure that the person is race first is what? You are not allowed to date outside your race. You can't engage in miscegenation. You can't marry a non-black person. Why? Because we're all about resources, right? We understand that part of white supremacy is the what? Maldistribution of resources. So we don't believe in any way, shape, or form you taking your resources and then sharing them with a member of another racial ethnic group. That's one of the core tenets of Pan-Africanism, right? So once again, What it comes down to is people are defining Pan-Africanism as something other than what it actually is. And what's really taking place is people are trying to say they're defining B1 as what Pan-Africanism actually is.
And the thing is the reason why he does not like to use the term B1 is because B1 centers around your blackness as a race. It prioritizes your blackness as a race. Pan-Africanism is centered around Africa as a continent, and we are being the descendants of Africa. We are not all the descendants of Africa. We're not. We're just not. We have ties to it. So do a lot of Latinos have ties to Africa, if people didn't know that. A lot of Europeans have ties to Africa, in case they didn't know that. A lot of people around the world have ties to Africa. A lot of Asians have ties to Africa, if they didn't know that. That's why there's dark-skinned people around the whole world. But that does not make us all the same people just because you have ties to Africa. We are centering this around our blackness. That is the difference between Pan-Africanism and black first mentality. And he doesn't want, and I keep asking him, and the reason I'm asking him this is because I keep saying, oh, if they're the same thing, why not just say black first? Why keep saying Pan-Africanism, Pan-Africanism? Why not say black first? He doesn't want to say black first because that's not really what he means. He's trying to rebrand Pan-Africanism because he sees we're winging off of Pan-Africanism. He sees like, oh, we're not doing the Pan-Africanism. Black first is a superior ideology. And he doesn't want us to have the black first ideology. He wants us to have the Pan-Africanist ideology. Okay. Let's continue. We're pretty much done. We're defining B1 as what Pan-Africanism should be.
No, that's what it is. That's what it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. And I would know because
you can Google it and you can look it up yourself.
And I've been part of numerous Pan-Africanist organizations. And if you join the Pan-Africanist
and the issue with Pan-Africanism and the issue with Pan-Africanism as well, which is why a lot of people are pushing back against Pan-Africanism, is because there's fundamental flaws that a lot of Pan-Africanists do not like to see. Like the fundamental flaws of nitpicking what Black Americans do as opposed to what other people do in the diaspora.
That's not
like you did in this very conversation, sir. The fundamental flaw of not acknowledging the fact that Black people are Aboriginal, which is disrespectful.
No.
Those are fundamental flaws of Pan-Africanism that people are pushing back.
The flaw of Pan-Africanism, the fundamental flaw of Pan-Africanism, and I can speak on this because I actually have a published paper on this. The fundamental flaw of Pan-Africanism is that it promised very much but delivered very little. That's the fundamental flaw of Pan-Africanism. There was expectation that due to what? Pan-Africanism coming to the forefront in the 1960s as the vanguard of what? Black resistance to white hegemony, that Black people globally will reap the benefits of political and economic what? Self-determination. And that didn't happen. That's the fundamental flaw of Pan-Africanism. Not because some individuals say this person did this and this person did that. That's the fundamental flaw of Pan-Africanism. I can state this because I'm a published author on the subject matter.
Okay, and here's the thing. You're doing all of this damage control for Pan-Africanism. That's not necessary.
Damage control is not
correcting someone when they say the things that aren't true. When you Google Pan-Africanism, I can show you what Google says. When you Google Pan-Africanism, it says Pan-Africanism was the attempt to create a sense of brotherhood and collaboration among all people of African descent, whether they lived inside or outside of Africa. The thing is that Black first is not based off of Africa. It is based off of the race.
Neither is Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is based off the race. We're African people.
You know that is difficult to market. That
first off, he said is based off the race. We're African people. We're not all African people. And I literally had to read the definition, and then he completely lies again. We're not all African people. We're not. That's not a bad thing to say. Listen, when people tell you, oh, you just want to that the whole, oh, it's pseudoscience. You just want to escape your Africanness. No, it's not a bad thing to say that we are unique people. That's a good thing to say. That's not dissing our African ancestry. That's not dissing that. That's not disrespectful. When the Caribbeans, you have Haitians, you have Jamaicans, you have Trinidadians, you have all of these people from Brazil, Cuba, all of these people
from the Latin countries, when they acknowledge their history, they don't say I'm African Jamaican. They say I'm Jamaican. When people say, oh, no, you're not Jamaican, you're really African. They say, no, my history is here. My people is here. My culture is here. My heritage is here. They don't have that. When you tell a Haitian, oh, you're not really Haitian, you're really African. They say, no, my people are here. My history is here. My culture is here. It's only when they come to Black Americans and when we say our history is here, our culture is here. No, your culture is really in Africa. What? No, what? Huh? Our culture is here. The same culture, that the same right that the Caribbeans have to hold on to their culture and their land is the same right that we as Black Americans, as foundational Black Americans, that's the same right we have. We have that same exact right. We are the only people who get told, no, you have to come from Africa. They don't tell that to the Caribbeans and the Jamaicans. They say, oh, it's just that we were on the same boat. They just dropped us off at different places. But yet Jamaicans get to say, I'm Jamaican. My people are from Jamaica. They don't have to say my people are from Africa. Haitians don't have to say their people are from Africa. Brazilians don't have to say their people are from Africa. Trinidadians don't have to say their people are from Africa. The Dominican Republicans, they don't have to say their people are from Africa. Only us, only as Black Americans, do we have to say your people are only from Africa. That's the only us. We have just as much of a right to say our people are from here as everybody else. This is Afro Elite. Do they say this because FBA is a minority group? That a lot of them say this because FBA has we haven't fully until very recently acknowledged our native ancestry. So we always, we're tying things back to Africa. That's that Wakandicizing. And a lot of people get their come up off of Black people Wakandicizing, or FBA Wakandicizing Africa. So when we think, oh, we're really from Africa, we don't like this land. We're not from this land. So that we don't fight for this land. We fight for Africa. That's what Pan Africanism is about. The glorification and the Wakandization of Africa. So if you think, oh, I'm really from Africa, you're going to fight for Africa. You're not going to fight for the land that you're Aboriginal to. That's why it's important for you to know you are Aboriginal to this land, because the fight for the land is going to be different. If you feel like you have no ties to the land, you're not going to fight for it. But your fight and your spirit and your energy is going to be different. If you feel like, no, my people built this land from scratch. This is my land. This is my country. I'm fighting for my country here. This is more that I have a right to this country more than anybody else. You have a different spirit when you acknowledge that. But when you feel to yourself that, oh, this isn't my country, I'm from Africa, your spirit is going to be for Africa. Your fight is going to be for Africa. And this isn't a diss to Africa at all. This isn't a diss to them. But our culture, our heritage, everything about us is tied to this land. You can talk about what about our African culture? When we came to this land, we were stripped from everything. Our names, our religion, our history, our food, everything was stripped. We had to start from scratch. And we built something beautiful from starting from scratch. We built something unique from starting from scratch. So much so everybody wants to be us. Okay, all around the world, people are imitating our culture. We're not imitating everybody else's. They're imitating us. They make money off of us. When we recognize that that's where we're from, and everybody else is able to market and sell, they have this like tethering mentality when it comes to FBA. Okay. When it comes to FBA, everybody likes to FBA. You don't have a culture, which is very disrespectful. You don't have a culture. So they like to sell it like, oh, why don't you come to us? We're the people with the culture. You're not the people with the culture. We're the people with the culture. So we're leeching on. We got this. Please, I want to be a part of something, because every group of people in the world has an intrinsic desire to be a part of a culture. Everybody. This goes around the globe. Us as foundationals, we are the only people who've been told we have no culture whatsoever. So that's why we've been lost. A lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us have been lost because we've been looking for a culture. We've been trying to find our culture back in Africa, and we haven't been able to because our culture isn't from Africa. Our culture is here. Our culture is in America. That is just history. History. That's what it is. This is our culture. This is our land. Let's wrap this video up real quick, y'all. Hold on, let me make it bigger. It literally says Africanism. Every black person.
That's what we are. Black people are African.
You can argue that Latinos are African too. You can argue that a lot of people are African as well too. See, that is the thing.
I know some Afro Latinos, and they are very.
You can argue. First off, you can argue that a lot of people are African or have ties to Africa. You can't say that we all collaborate just because we have black people. Africa, sir.
And you have a lot of black people who make the argument they're black. So what's your point?
You say that one more time.
Yeah, and you have a lot of black people who make claims that they're black. So what's your point?
You have a lot of black people who make claims that they're black.
I mean, you have a lot of people who make claims that they're black as well. Just like you said, there's a lot of people who make claims that they're Africa or tied to Africa. But once again,
no, but the thing is that you have legitimate claims. You can have a lot of legitimate claims that a non-black person can say he has. Sir, hold on. Sir, hold on. You see, this whole time I don't get a chance to speak. And this is why I really don't like a lot of one-sided debates, especially when you're on the host program, because they don't be fair. That's why a lot of times when you have debates, you need a fair moderator who's not going to be biased and give people turns to speak. Because this is what it comes into. He says there's a lot of black people who claim to be black. I'm like, yeah, duh. Black is a race. Africa is not a race. African is not a race. African is not even a nationality. Africa is a whole continent. To say we're African people, yeah, a lot of people can say they're African people. Do you know the Middle East? There's really no Middle East. If you guys didn't know that, Middle East is actually like really Africa. A lot of Arabs, they live in Africa. If you guys didn't know that. They're not black people though. But there's no it's connected to the continent. You can Google this. What continent is the Middle East connected to? It's Africa. A lot of that, it is Africa. They try to de-Africanize it. But it is Africa. There's a lot of people who can have ties to Africa that does not make them black. Elon Musk has ties to Africa. Elon Musk is not a black person. We're talking about our blackness, not our ties to Africa.
Worldwide. If you want to make that into
I'm
something
saying
else,
no. I'm talking about
right.
the confusion and why Black First is the more efficient way to go about it. Because I'm saying you have a lot of people who can say, a lot of non-black people who can say I have ties to Africa, and they would be historically correct. Those people can't say I am black though. Just because you have ties to Africa does not make just because you have ties to Africa does not make you a black individual.
People do it all the time. T. Thomas Fortune was an octoroon, and he was blacker than me and you and I put together.
Okay.
So what's your point? So because when it comes down to part of Pan Africanism is based on, of course, that you are actually racially black. But the other aspect is that ideologically you are for black power. Mm-hmm. This is a reality.
And you can be for black power and be for black first. I'm not getting the pushback against being black first. It's just more efficient
it sounds like your opinion is more efficient, but part of the reason, and this isn't doing damage control.
No, it's not my opinion. I'm saying that you're doing.
It is your opinion, because the problem
now you see, as I'm speaking, he just completely mutes me. If you heard that little beep, that's because he muted me. Listen right here.
T. Thomas Fortune was an octoroon, and he was blacker than me and you and I put together.
Okay.
So what's your point? Because when it comes down to part of Pan Africanism is based on, of course, that you are actually racially black. But the other aspect is that ideologically, you are for Black power.
Mhm.
This is the reality.
And you can be for Black power and be for Black first. I'm not getting the
That's
pushback
what
against being
Pan-Africanism
Black
is.
first. It's
That's
just
what
more
Pan-Africanism
efficient
is. It sounds like your opinion is more efficient, but part of the reason, and this isn't doing damage control.
No, it's not my opinion. I'm saying that you're doing.
It is your opinion, because the problem is people go around stating things about Pan-Africanism that are inaccurate, and then when I say that's not true, you say I'm doing damage control. That would be like somebody coming to me and saying Bakari Lumumba stabbed a woman when he was 14 years old, and I say no, I didn't. Or Bakari's doing damage control. It's not damage control. The person says something that isn't true.
Sir, I am saying you do not have to do that at all with Black first. It's just saving more time. It is just more efficient. It is a more efficient term.
In your
Based
opinion.
off of what you're saying, they are exact same things. I don't know why you're getting in your feelings about Pan-Africanism.
I'm not getting my feelings. What I'm stating is that once again, you are making an argument that is factually false.
No, I'm asking
Like,
the question,
again,
and
we're going to wrap this up.
why.
We're going to wrap this
Because
up.
the thing is that when you
No,
Google
we're gonna wrap this up.
Pan-Africanism,
Once again, you stated the claim you made about the fundamental flaw of Pan-Africanism is false. There are fundamental flaws of Pan-Africanism. I wrote a whole damn master's thesis on it. But the fundamental flaw of Pan-Africanism isn't because, well, one group highlights what they highlight what one ethnic group of Black people do and not the other.
Most Pan-Africanists, not Pan-Africanism, a lot of Pan-Africanists.
The flaw of Pan-Africanists and Pan-Africanism is that it's an ideology that promised so much but delivered very little. That's the flaw. Like with anything, if you have any type of ideology, any type of movement, and you state we're going to be able to do X, Y, Z, and you aren't able to actually do it, people are going to have a problem with that. If I told my kids, hey, we're going to the Cedar Point amusement park and we're going to ride the tallest roller coaster there, and then we don't go, that undermines me because I said we're going to do something and it didn't come to fruition. That's the fundamental flaw of Pan-Africanism. But we have to go. Thank you all who were part of the conversation, who commented in the comment section below. Until next time, y'all know what to do. Bet on Black. Peace.
Okay. And then he just completely shuts the conversation off at that point. Like it's just over with. And I'm looking at it like, dude, like, huh? Like, that's not how you end a debate or anything like that. That's not that you're not ending that on good faith. And this isn't a diss. I'm not throwing any shade. I plugged the video up. But I did feel like, first off, that was very rude to end it in that conversation like that. That was incredibly rude. Doing such and stuff like oh, we gotta go. And then in the live, that's rude. I'm like, dude. I was just sitting there, and then after he done, he immediately left. I'm like, I don't know if you had something you had to do or something like that, but when you invite somebody on your platform, you're supposed to like, okay, final words, what's going on? Like, okay, where can people find? I always do that. Anytime I have somebody on my platform, I'm like, okay, well, where can people find you? If people got a question, where can they reach you? If I don't have their stuff plugged in the video already. When I make references, when I bring people on, I have their Instagram, their social media, their videos, their channel. All that is already plugged in. That's how you do that. You don't invite somebody in, barely let them speak at all, and then be all like, I gotta go, and then leave. Dude, I don't get like my final word to say. Like, I don't get to, like, really, dude? Yeah, at least a goodbye. Like, I can almost see if he left and he said, and he texted me later, like, hey, Afro, my fault. I had something really important that came up. I had to really get out of here. I really didn't have times to, end things off the way I wanted to. I can see if it was like that, but it was just nothing. It was like, damn, that's how you going to end the thing? After a 3-hour conversation, just, okay, we got to go. That's it. That's that way to flop the landing. That's a terrible way to end the conversation. Look, this dude keeps talking about his damn thesis. Man, I want to know what the hell is in this thesis. Because, boy, did he plug that in. He plugged that sucker in. It says, yeah. He had to go listen to his Beyonce album. He had it on a timer. The second the timer went up, he's like, gotta go. Bye. Even when he said he was going to wrap it up, that's why I'm like, okay, well, let me get ready to when people say, okay, we're going to wrap things. I've been on several different broadcasts with several different people. Torian is one of them, multiple times. Anytime I've been on his channel or he's been on my channel, it's always been, okay, before you leave, where can people find you? That's just proper etiquette. You know, if you don't do that, you make somebody feel attacked for just being on your channel, that's going to make people not want to come back on your channel again. I mean, that's very off-putting. You know, I mean, you strong armed the entire 3-hour conversation. And I barely got a chance to speak. And then I didn't even get a chance to really land. Is he in the academy? Some people suspect that. I'm going to say that. Some people suspect that. I don't know. But he was acting very triggered. Yeah, it has to show I have etiquette. Yeah, you have etiquette. Okay. Now, I mean, yeah. Next time, if we do have a conversation, there's got to be some type of rules set. It's got to be some type of rule set. Because I'm not going to be strong armed like that. That was not productive at all. Maybe it's just the FBA culture that you're a gracious host. Maybe he's not FBA, and it's just my FBA culture to be a gracious host. But we've been on here for close to 3 hours. All together, I pretty much did a 5 because I didn't know it wasn't really 5. It kind of was. I did like a 2-hour broadcast earlier today, which if you guys have not seen that broadcast, that was a really good reaction video. So you guys definitely got to go back and check it. I literally did like 2 hours ago. Now I got to do another one. No, I did this one, and this one's going on for like close to 3 hours. Someone says, salute to my parents. They raised a real one. Thank you very much. Indeed, they did. And I will let them know that. But I got to get out of here, guys. Your brother is hungry. Your brother has to eat something. I've been on YouTube Live pretty much all day long. And this is a whole shift. You got altogether the 5 hours, another broadcast, that'd be a whole work shift. I've been on sitting in this chair. You know what I'm saying? So I got to get out of here. Do some stretching and everything. Please make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the channel on your various social media broadcasts. If you want to see the original debate, the link is in the description below. Then you can go to his channel. I'm not saying that the brother is 100% wrong in everything he says. I'm pretty sure he has a lot of educational information, even though we disagree on the Pan Africanist thing. I'm not telling people to go troll his channel. If you like what you see, you can go subscribe to his channel. I'm just speaking on this very particular debate right here. This isn't a diss to the brother, but I'm just saying that I felt like he was incorrect with the way he debated. All right. But I got to get out of here, family. B1 to everybody in here. I can't wait to go back and look at the comments. Look at the things that you guys put. I can't wait for that. I'm going to catch you guys this Thursday. I have a collab coming up this Thursday. It's going to be a breakdown. Stay tuned for that, 7 o'clock Central Time. Don't miss out. You want to catch that. Subscribe if you guys have not done so. I will holler at you guys later on this week. You guys have a good one.